country, led by the legend that is Alan Boesak. When the UDF turned 30, 2 years ago, the ANC didn't even bother to light a candle for it, in spite of what this country owes them. It is a sad thing, and it is a sad fate. The colored community knows imprisonment better than anyone else. 85% of all people incarcerated come from us. It's as if we give birth to criminals. We certainly don't. Speaker, I listened to certain people speak in this meeting, and I hear you. And I agree with the minister who says that we will force employment equity down the throats of those who resist it. The question I have for certain people in this room is, why will you not chew and swallow equality? Why do we have to force it down your throats? We will not be free, Speaker, until the day when the beneficiaries of apartheid stop fighting the victims of apartheid, join hands with us, and say to us, we are in this together. This is us versus them. It's black, colored, and Indian versus white. Ultimately, there's only going to be one winner. Speaker, on the issue of land, how is it that 30 years later, the land thieves want to have the major say in what we do with the land?
Honourable Adams, your time has expired. Let's just make sure the PAC
it wasn't 3 minutes, but
online. Not then the Honourable Mashlatsi.
Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker.
Is there a hand on the virtual platform?
Yeah, right here.
Oh, my apologies. Honourable Member.
Thank you. It's not a point of order. I've just been informed that one of our members, Honourable Matopa, is struggling to get in. She's been in the lobby for more than half an hour. And I'm hoping then that IT can sort that out, please.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, they will attend to it. May I plead with whips that if that is the case, that the whip present in the chamber just alert the table staff in future. Thank you. Honourable Mahlatsi, please continue.
Thank you, Chairperson. Awesome, Africa. The UAT firmly reject the celebration of Freedom's Day, asserting that there can be no freedom while our people are still landless, unemployed, hungry, and are trapped in deep inequalities. For UAT to commemorate the day that symbolizes liberation, it will be like a betrayal to the majority of our people who are still living in poverty, who continue to suffer under the weight of broken promises and systemic injustice. Until the land is restored to the rightful owners, hunger is eradicated and dignity is restored through meaningful employment and equality. Freedom's Day stand as a painful reminder of a freedom deferred, not realized. Let us not forget, 1994 gave us the vote, but it did not give us the land. It gave us the flag, but not the food. It opened the ballot box, but kept the bank vault close to the black majority. Today, 30 years later, inequalities has grown deeper. Our rural people still live in desperation. The shack dwellers still bathe in the basket. The youth still wander in the street looking for dignity in a system that offers none. So no, we cannot, we will not celebrate freedom that exists only in speeches, songs, in ceremonies. True freedom must be lived, must be tangible, must be shared. Until that day comes, the United African Transformation calls for national reflection, not national celebration. We demand a freedom that feeds, a freedom that houses, a freedom that empowers, not one that deceives. Katni mambo.
Woo, Dr. Wanda.
Thank you. The next speaker is the Honourable Klopper.
Honourable House Chairperson, 27th of April 2025 marked 31 years since the most important day in our nation's history. Every year we celebrate Freedom Day to commemorate the end of one of the cruelest, most divisive systems of government the world has seen in modern era. Apartheid enforced systematic discrimination on all levels of society that haunts our country till today. Honourable members, today's debate calls for deep reflection not into our past only, but more importantly, where we are heading as a country. Freedom Day was never meant to be celebrated by looking backwards. Those who devoted their lives to the cause of creating an equal and democratic society did not intend that we only celebrate the work that has been done. They wanted Freedom Day to serve as a reminder that we never stop working to realize a shared dream of a prosperous South African for all its citizens. They wanted us to work towards celebrating a dream of what is yet to come. There is no better way to honor those who came before us than building on the foundations they have already laid. This brings us to a critical question. What have we done in the past 31 years to honor the freedom that so many people died for? Honourable House Chairperson, we have come a long way since 27th of April 1994, and the Democratic Alliance recognizes the efforts of our partner in the GNU. In the same breath, we must acknowledge that more could have been done to undo the horrors of our past. We have wasted time that could be used to rebuild South Africa, and we have wasted it at the cost of the most affected of the previous injustices. 60% of our youth is unemployed. 128 women are raped daily in South Africa. We have one of the highest murder rates per capita, and our country ranks the most unequal in the world. Our economy has stagnated, leaving millions destitute. Do these statistics honor the fight for freedom? 31 times we have celebrated Freedom Day, yet 31 times we have failed to acknowledge how much still has to be done. The Democratic Alliance is more determined than ever to build a prosperous South Africa where everyone has a job, where everyone feels safe, and where everyone can enjoy the fruits of democracy. These are not empty promises or lofty ideals, but goals that we can reach in our lifetime. We have achieved success in all areas where we govern. Our ministers and cabinets have rolled up their sleeves and improved their departments. The DA-led Western Cape serves as a testament of what can be achieved through hard work. Municipalities like Cape Town and Midvaal stand as proof that clean governance and real progress is indeed possible. We acknowledge this fight for freedom cannot be fought alone. That is why we entered a government of national unity and why we are committed to continue working with our partners to create a country worthy of celebrating Freedom Day. The DA stands and has always stood for redress, economic growth and job creation, building an open and opportunity society for all, where we can live a life we value. We want to build on the constitutional vision that we all subscribe to, a democratic state founded on the values of human dignity, equality, and freedom for all. We don't need to drape ourselves in red overalls or military fatigue to prove our commitment to justice. We prove it in budgets that actually balance, services that work, and policies that lift people in instead of locking them out. We prove it in billion rands of infrastructure investments to our most vulnerable communities and providing quality basic services that work and actually keep working. Real freedom isn't loud, it's lived. It's running water, working schools, safe streets, honest governments, economic growth, good jobs, and opportunity to live a life you actually value. Honourable House Chairperson, past governments have corrupted our state institutions and looted money destined to assist the poor. A flagrant disrespect for the dream of freedom. Freedom without justice and accountability, with millions trapped in squalor, is but a word. How do we celebrate freedom when so many are still shackled by poverty?
Honourable Klopper, just take your seat for a moment. Honourable Manye, why do you want to be recognized?
Can the member take a question about thieves and
Honourable Klopper, no, just hold on, Honourable Manye. Are you prepared to take a question?
No, he had his turn.
Please proceed.
The Democratic Alliance has shown it has the capacity to break these shackles, and we hope that part of the GNU we can continue freeing South Africans. We proved in municipalities such as Cape Town and Midvaal that clean governance and real progress is indeed possible. Fighting for South Africans' freedoms and democracy is not about patting ourselves on the back for work done in the past. Fighting for freedom, giving effect to the rights enshrined in the Constitution and upholding the law. Fighting for freedom is providing all South Africans with access to justice, ensuring our institutions such as the NPA, the judiciary, and the public protector are independent, free from political interference, as well as being adequately resourced. Fighting for freedom means rapidly growing our economy to create decent jobs for millions of South Africans who are desperate for work. Honourable members, those who steal state funds and facilitated state capture are enemies of the ideals we celebrate every year on the 27th of April. The Democratic Alliance is leading a charge towards a better South Africa, and we invite our GNU partners to join us in this endeavour. For too long, South Africans have been given false hope by politicians, and we only have so much patience, resilience, and optimism. The Democratic Alliance does more than merely promise hope. We work with South Africans and our partners to make these dreams a reality. By allowing the private sector to flourish, the DA-led Western Cape has achieved an unemployment rate that is significantly lower than the national average. The Democratic Alliance fights for a country where every South African has an equal opportunity to thrive, regardless of race. A country that has prioritizes quality education, jobs, economic growth, and clean governance, and the protection of our constitutional values. This Freedom Day, let us not be chained by past government failures. May we come together in the spirit of all ideals while we celebrate Freedom Day to create a plan driven by a dream of a better tomorrow. The Democratic Alliance extends an invitation to our governing partners to work with us to create jobs and growth and thereby lift millions of people out of poverty. Let us work together to create a safer, more equal society. Let us work to rid our beautiful country of cancer and the corruption and cadre deployment. Honourable Speaker, the Democratic Alliance is already demonstrating what can be achieved through hard work. Where we govern better. We call on our parties in the GNU to join us in realizing the dream of actual true freedom for all South Africans. Those who do not share in this dream have no place in government, no place in the parliament, and certainly no place in South Africa. May we never stop looking ahead at the work still required of us. Let freedom reign. I thank you.
Thank you. The last speaker is the Honourable the Minister of Employment and Labour.
Thank you very much, House Chair, the honourable members, fellow South Africans. Let me begin by saying the African National Congress has characterized the 29th of May 2024 national and provincial elections outcomes as a strategic setback. But let me be abundantly clear. This is not just a setback for the African National Congress. It is a strategic setback for South Africa, because where the ANC falters, the forces of darkness and counter-revolution creep in. They seek cracks in the walls of democracy, and like termites, they gnaw at its foundations. We are witnessing a disruption, an orchestrated effort to erase the gains brought to this country by the glorious movement of the people, the African National Congress, over 6 terms of its governance, but will not retreat, will not surrender, will not betray the martyrs of our struggle. Honourable House Chair, let us not suffer from the selective amnesia that plagues the Democratic Alliance and their fellow travelers. Let us revisit the nightmare from which our people awoke only 31 years ago. Apartheid was not an abstraction. It was a meticulously engineered machine of dehumanization. The Population Registration Act of 1950 reduced human beings to ink on a form: white, colored, Indian, black, bureaucratic racism, institutional cruelty. The Group Areas Act of 1950 turned bulldozers into weapons of war. It waged destruction upon communities. District 6, Sophiatown, Lady Selborne. This act got rid of the black spots, the so-called black spots inside white areas, by moving all black people out of the city. Our families were uprooted, our dignity shredded. We were driven like cattle to the peripheries, to the barren lands they called homelands. Unwanted in the cities we built with our bare hands. We are not allowed to own land in so-called white areas. We rented on stolen land while the thief held the title deed. This caused hardship and resentment. People lost their homes. We were removed from the land they were removed from the land they had owned for many years, and were moved to undeveloped areas far away from their place of work. Honourable House Chair, they call this separate development an euphemism for economic strangulation, for suffering, for theft, but we fought back. Mandela, Sisulu, Tambo, they refused to bow. The 1949 Program of Action lit the match. The Defiance Campaign of 1952 ignited the fire. We broke unjust laws not for ourselves, but for our children and their children. Even when more than 8,000 of our people were arrested, we stood tall. Apartheid may have shackled our bodies, but never our minds, never our souls. And then from the 25th to the 26th of June 1955 came the Congress of the People, where from the mouths of the oppressed, the Freedom Charter was born. South Africa belongs to all who live in it. The people shall govern. There shall be houses, security, and comfort. There shall be peace and friendship. Today we gather in a democratic parliament because of that charter, not because of the DA, not because of their corporate benefactors, but because of the blood and fire of the liberation struggle led by the African National Congress. Fellow South Africans, let us now speak of the new dawn, the birth of a people from the ashes of colonialism and apartheid. Since 1994, under the ANC, we have delivered over 4.7 million housing opportunities, including fully subsidized houses, service stands, and rental units, restoring shelter and dignity to millions. We have increased university enrollment, long close to Black youth, from just under 500,000 in 1994 to over 1 million today. Our TVET colleges are opening doors for skills and trades, equipping our youth for the future. Social grants now support our 28 million South Africans, prove that we do not leave our most vulnerable to perish in the margins. Water infrastructure now reaches over 90% of households, up from 60% in 1994. But we know infrastructure alone is not enough. We are working tirelessly to ensure consistent and reliable access for all. Electricity reaches over 86% of households, a dramatic shift from the deliberate energy apartheid of the past. We have more Black professionals, Black-owned businesses, and Black graduates than at any time in our nation's history. But let us be honest, too many boardrooms, too many contracts, and too much capital still reflect demographics of exclusion, not transformation. And yet, House Chair, some amongst us, those who benefited from apartheid, have the audacity to take the Department of Employment and Labor to court for daring to implement employment equity, for daring to say, let the workplace reflect the face of our nation. We make no apology for defending transformation, not now, not ever. The Employment Equity Act, the National Minimum Wage Act, the Labor Relations Act, these are the tools of economic justice, and will not surrender them at the altar of the so-called merit that is rooted in a legacy of exclusion. And it does not stop there. They have taken the National Health Insurance to court for daring to promise access to quality health care, regardless of a citizen's bank balance. They've taken the Basic Education Laws Amendment, Bella Bill, to act to court for daring to affirm that every child, not just the privileged, deserves the same standard of schooling. They've taken Expropriation Act to court for daring to correct the original sin of the land theft. Some in this government of national unity have confused coalition with opposition. They enjoy the trappings of power while launching grenades from within the tent. That cannot stand. There can be no unity with those who seek to unravel the gains of our revolution. We say to them, govern with us or get out. You cannot have it both ways. Even as we build at home, we answer the call beyond our borders. When our brothers and sisters in Mozambique, Lesotho, DRC, Burundi cried for help, we did not turn away. When Palestine bleeds, we raise our voice at the International Court of Justice. Peace and friendship is not just a slogan, it is a duty, because the world stood with us when we were drowning in apartheid's tide. We will not be cowards when others suffer. House Chair, in this 31st year of freedom, we recommit to the vision of the Freedom Charter, to progressive internationalism, to national sovereignty, to building safer communities and fighting GBV with every tool at our disposal. And let me say this, in the spirit of the Congress of the People, this year we'll have the national dialogue, a broad, inclusive, society-wide conversation to renew our social contract. When that process begins, we call on all South Africans, young and old, rural and urban, to participate in their numbers, as they did in 1995 to defend gains of that freedom. But let me end with this. We did not come this far to be led by those who cheered while we bled. We did not survive the gallows and the exiles and the dungeons to be lectured by those who inherited the loot of apartheid. The ANC may stumble, but we do not fall. We recuperate, we rearm, we return. Because, fellow South Africans, our mission is not yet complete. The people shall still govern. There shall still be houses, security and comfort. There shall still be peace and friendship. Let those who wish to reverse our gains know we are not done. We are not tired. We are not afraid. Honorable Madikizela, welcome back. I see you, but I think like other African leaders in the DA, they shall use you as a condom and dump you because of coming here and misrepresenting them as if they are for the land to the landless. Please, my fellow comrades of the MK party, ask Ubaba, why is it that we cry foul of the 9 wasted years under his presidency of corruption and state capture? Ask him why he delayed progress. Thank you very much.
Order, honorable members. Honorable members, that concludes the debate. Order. The secretary will read the second order.
Debate on Workers' Day, leveraging industrialization, trade to realize decent work and social justice.
I now recognize the Honorable Nontsele to introduce the debate.
Thank you, House Chair. Good afternoon to honorable members. This is the debate on Workers' Day. As we observe the Workers' Month, we celebrate the victories of the working class and pay tribute to the selfless sacrifices made by generations of workers across the globe. This important day traces its roots back to the historic events of 1886, when a tragic clash in Chicago's Haywood Market Square that resulted on the May Day being declared, that is the 1st of May. In that regard, the incident where workers were shot and killed during a strike also laid the foundation for the slogan that continues to mobilize workers across the globe. The workers that says, workers of the world unite. You've got nothing to lose but change. The protests and activism that emerged there reflected workers' collective desire for dignified treatment, fair wages, and reasonable working conditions, laying groundwork for the broader fight for labor rights that eventually lead to significant social and economic transformation. This period signifies the emerging consciousness among workers of their collective strength and importance of organizing the challenge of exploitation and advocate for their fundamental rights. Guided by the Freedom Charter's theme and freedom that says there shall be work, security, and comfort, we have, through the democratic government, introduced the Labor Relations Act, the Basic Condition of Employment Act, COIDA, and the most important one that DA is attacking, which is the Employment Equity Amendment Act. All these set of legislation intervention are in fact aimed at ensuring that we realize the goal that we have set ourselves to achieve through the freedoms that were articulated through the Freedom Charter. These pieces of legislation facilitate collective bargaining and dispute resolution, strengthening worker participation in decision-making and overall in the overall legislative processes. Workers are the backbone of our economy, driving progress from urban sweatshops to rural farms. Their resilience and collective efforts have been instrumental in shaping South Africa's socio-economic landscape. Historically, workers played a transformative role, especially during the apartheid era, where exploitative practices were widespread and Black workers had no rights. Post-1994, our focus has been on building upon this foundation up through industrialization and pursuing economic growth, social justice, and inclusive development. Trade union federations like COSAT and its forerunner, that is SACTO and ICU, have been at the forefront of this struggle. They have fought tirelessly to ensure fair labor standards, better wages, and social protections. Through solidarity and collective bargaining, they have secured vital gains, holding government and employers accountable. Their role exemplifies the power of unity in advocating for dignified employment conditions, safety at work, and social security. Ensuring May Day is a celebration of international worker solidarity, transcending borders. It is a day to reflect on the selfless sacrifices made by workers who fought for dignity and justice. Workers around the world have demonstrated resilience in the face of adversity, from urban labor struggles to rural resistances. Their collective effort have contributed to social progress and to an end to exploitative practices. We further recognize that at home, that NEDLAC plays a crucial role in advancing progressive labor legislation through tripartite agreements, demonstrating the importance of collaborative dialogue amongst government, labor, and business stakeholders. Its ability to facilitate consensus has been vital in implementing measures such as the TERS during the COVID period and TERS in the normal environment where workers who have lost their jobs are able to go and earn a living. Providing essential protection and support to workers during the pandemic. And this underscores NEDLAC's invaluable contribution to fostering social dialogue, promoting fair labor practices, and safeguarding workers' rights during challenging times. Honorable Bigram, you've called for the closure of NEDLAC. Recent issues, such as the 800 million bailout of a mining company, underscores the critical importance of ensuring transparent and accountable management of workers' funds. We fully support the steps taken to investigate any wrongdoing, if there is any. That ensures that workers' interests are diligently kept, and then there is accountability as well. That should, in fact, follow that in the event of wrongdoing. The UIF and Compensation Fund play vital roles in supporting employees beyond their workplace through initiatives such as TERS, which provide essential financial relief during times of distress. Protecting the integrity of these funds is crucial because they are instrumental in offering social and economic security to workers when they most need it, thus reinforcing the need for stringent measures to prevent misappropriation and to ensure effective support for employees. May Day reminds us that workers are the foundation of social and economic progress. Their struggles and sacrifices symbolize resilience and hope for a better future. We owe it to countless contributions that have been made by founders of unionists, such as Comrades Clement Kadali, Comrade J.P. Marx, Comrade Neil Agat, Umamuri Tanzanga, Notata Flores Nzanga, Mtutuzeli Tom, Tozamile Gweta, and Dennis Neer, and many others who lost employment through mass dismissals, accident at the workplace, and many other work-related challenges. Let us honor their legacy by recommitting ourselves to building a society that respects, protects, and empowers workers where labor is not exploited, but appropriately rewarded, as workers are the driving force for social and economic transformation. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you. The next speaker is the Honorable Madlala.
Gwaza Mkhonto, Gwaza.
Thank you, Speaker. We rise today to first congratulate the inauguration and election of the President of Gabon. We also want to say strength to the President of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore. As we fight for our own total liberation in South Africa, we seek and we also appreciate the strength of the presidents across the continent who stand to ensure that we are free ultimately from the binds of colonial ties and from our own former oppressors, who stand to ensure that there's liberation in the continent. We also want to ensure that we thank and appreciate the workers of South Africa, given that we are speaking on the issue of the importance on the commemoration of Workers' Day. It is through their effort in rejecting the former liberation movement and giving an MK party the vote that they gave that ensured that we do not have a 2% increase in VAT today, which would have been a unilateral decision by the former liberation movement. We stand to salute them for their resilience and to ensure that they dismantle ties with an organization that has a figment of its own imagination and an applause of its former glory when we are moving forward and chanting a struggle of a revolution and the true liberation of the people of South Africa. We want to say they must not despair. The manipulation of vote will not end. The will of the people will triumph above all in the freedom and the cause of the liberation of this country. And as President, during the times of President Zuma, or post the times of President Zuma, we have seen this country plunged into a number of retrenchments. We have seen the workers of this country taken into isolation and left to fight for themselves. As Umkhonto Wesizwe Party, through the Umkhonto Revolutionary Umkhonto Wesizwe Labour Desk, we continue to encourage workers to fight and to unite and to advance a struggle for the liberation of this country. It is the promise of jobs for all, but not just only jobs, but decent jobs that we continue to pursue in the cause of the liberation. As we commemorate Workers' Day, we face a harsh truth that millions have lost jobs and are post the period of the fifth administration. The promise of economic reform turned into a wave of job cuts, leaving families without breadwinners and stripping them of their dignity. We say without land, there cannot be dignity. The history of the workers of this country is a history of land dispossession and is a history of migrant workers. We stand many years after in this platform, still with workers and the people of this country landless. And there is no way that there could be dignity of workers without the land upon which the economy is built. The unfinished struggle of the people's dignity is a very critical aspect of the party as Umkhonto Wesizwe. We believe that the slogans and the chantings will not liberate our people. As one of the former African leaders, Samora Machel, once said, a rich man's dog still gets better of healthcare than the work upon which the wealth is built. This is the situation and the plight of the South African workers today. The slogans and the promise of better healthcare system remains just that. We live in the today. We cannot live in the past. We live today and we seek to see the implementation of this issue today. Promises will not liberate our people, but decisions are the ones that are going to do. The former liberation movement has borrowed those who have dispossessed us of our land some confidence to stand today in the land of our forebears and tell us that if we want land, we shall see. And then the liberation movement wants to also proclaim itself, or the former liberation movement wants to continue proclaiming itself as a left-wing organization or as a bias to the left-wing organization. And we say to the people that must be dismantled, that must not be supported with whatever attempt that it comes. The struggle today, it will be amiss of the Umkhonto Wesizwe Party to speak of the struggle today without the issue of Marikana. What we saw happening in Marikana was an assurance to the capitalist order of their rule over the working class of this country. The blood that was spilled there gave an assurance to say that no one in this country should continue or test the powers against the capitalist class. That has been the order, and to speak today, there are big companies and corporates that have got the audacity to then want to dictate inter-party politics and say, if you remove this one, we're going to pull out, the markets are going to collapse. It is the extent to the growth of the attitude and the arrogance of capital in this class, in this country. further oppressing the marginalized people of South Africa. We stand as Umkhonto weSizwe with no one, with no God, but the people themselves. We take no mandate from any white settler and white establishment on the issues relating to the struggles of our people and of this country. For as long as they stand on our side, we stand with them, and we have got no ambition or uncontrollable ambition to form part of any government of fake national unity. We are for the people, and the people will liberate themselves. We speak today, the EPWP workers are all over the country, despondent. They've been taken, they've had their rights to freedom of association taken away from them. The poverty and the jobs, or the lack of jobs, has been used as an instrument to further humiliate our people. When you are an EPW worker, you are told that you cannot associate with certain parties because councillors will move you out of their lists. When you are an EPW worker, you are told that for you to continue, you must go and do door-to-doors. There were videos circulating of some councillors of the ANC forcing people to go and do door-to-doors against their will, using their own poverty as an instrument to further humiliate them and compel them. This is a situation that our people find ourselves in under a government that claims to be on their side. We see a violation of human rights everywhere, freedom of association from the side of EPW workers. In the private sector, we have a government that claims to want to play a neutral role, which says that there could be an equal ground between those who have and those who do not have, which claims that those who own the commanding heights of the economy can share an equal fighting capacity with those that do not have bread in their cupboards. That is a situation that is not possible. That's a sellout position. It is time that we support and we call on the people to support an organization that stands for their liberation and fully their liberation. Today, the public servants are sacrificed every day through the Telang Ogbona's different business forums. They die in the line of duty trying to do what is right, because we have a government that has failed in terms of ensuring that there's security for the employees of this country. We have a government that cares less. There is even part of those business forums that demand water tanks. When our employees try to deliver water to our people, they are faced by a barrel of a gun and the same government. The outsourcing and labor brokers cannot be left aside. This is another instrument within which capitalists are shielded in this country to ensure that they do not carry the burden of sharing the benefits to the employees. We call on the abolishment of all forms of labor brokers as well as the outsourcing. Under the MK party, there shall be no employee working in an outsourced environment, or there shall be no employee working under a labor broker. When we deal with issues of industrialization, as per the theme that was set by this neo-colonial order and establishment of thieves, former thieves and the current thieves, we want to say we support as the MK party the issue of industrialization, but it cannot happen under this government. We have seen many progressive policies that were supposed to liberate our people being used to benefit a minority few. Even in the cause of unemployment and retrenchments, what we have seen is still an escalation in the gap of inequality and the rich getting richer. So if we then industrialize, which we support, as a means to ensure that we purify our own minerals, we process our own goods, we create more employment, and we ensure that the economy grows. But we know that if it happens under this government, which is a right-wing government that takes its mandate from Stellenbosch, we are going to see friends of a few, and only the few elite benefiting from that arrangement. So the people, it is in their hands to unite and ensure that they take this government out, because that is the true power of the people. No amount of speeches. Some have been here for 30 years. They sit here and tell us how long they've been here. They've changed nothing. They go out of this room, back to their comfort zone, and think in their own imagination liberation has arrived, because they no longer see the poverty in our faces, except when they try to go and campaign. Our people have themselves to liberate, and it will not be through these boardrooms. It will be either through the ballots or through the streets, or both. In closure, Umkhonto weSizwe Party wants to call on every worker out there, wants to call on every poor South African out there. There can be no dinner table where the former oppressor and the current so-called liberation movement are sitting, which would be to the benefit of the oppressed. It will never happen. The power struggles do not allow for that to be the case. So those who claim to be representing the poor but share dinner table and follow up with other policy positions that are manufactured to send an image as if there's a revolution going on, are actually sellouts of the revolution. We do not need any other person except us as the Progressive Front and the people on the ground to ensure that there's true liberation for the people of this country. To that end, we call on the support of our people on the ground to stand fast and support the Mkhonto weSizwe as we marshal to true liberation. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is the Honorable Bagrime.
Thank you, Chairman. Workers' Day, May Day, the 1st of May 2025 was a bittersweet occasion. We have much to celebrate in South Africa in that there was an illustrious and effective trade union movement in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and early 2000s, which helped pave the way for workers' rights, which everyone has. South Africa's labour movement once stood for fairness and opportunity for all, yet sadly it is now a shadow of its former self. The present is bleak. As we sit in an unemployment poverty emergency, our economy is stalled for more than a decade before this Parliament. Trade unions have been complicit in the sad reality, choosing political patronage over people and country. From the labour movement, we have a dedicated government department to labour meant to champion the interests of the workers. Past departments have failed as an engine room for economic growth and job creation, but they have degenerated into a site of inefficiency, waste and malpractice. More than 8 million jobless. We have spent billions of rands on labour activation programs, which is an anomaly, which have brought very little value, if at all. Government on its own cannot create jobs. The private sector has to be the vital partner. Yet in previous administrations, this has been shunned. The Government of National Unity has a vital opportunity to change and turn over a new leaf. And the department must dedicate itself in doing all that is possible for businesses to operate and create jobs. However, we must admit that there's a considerable deep cleansing that must be done first. The Unemployment Insurance Fund, the UIF, is a complete and utter mess. Workers struggle to get their monies. Employers struggle to register their workers. The Auditor General has lamented the failure to achieve a clean audit for over 10 years due to internal theft and wasteful expenditure. The Compensation Fund, shouldn't be called compensation, has likewise failed its audit year after year. Injured workers cry out for help for decades, and employers cannot get reimbursed for the monies they've spent on helping the injured. Further, the Inspectorate of the Department of Labour has tried to ensure businesses are abiding by labour practice, but they're completely underfunded and under-resourced. While there are plans of training a further 10,000 inspectors, once trained, they're probably going to sit without the resources to do their jobs. The one shining jewel of the department, the CCMA, the Commission for Conciliation, Mediation and Arbitration, is being undermined annually by having its budget cut. The once world-class institution is now facing enormous backlogs with their dispute resolution processes being marred for months and months. The CCMA was once able to effectively keep labour peace across South Africa and to try and save jobs during our bleakest moments. No longer. Lastly, the department has spearheaded employment equity laws that have not worked to close inequality and have created jobs for the previously disadvantaged demographics. There is absolutely no dispute that we urgently need redress. However, previous efforts to engineer our economy have only benefited the select few. More than focusing on slicing a narrow pie in our small economy, we must rather focus on growing the collective share for everyone. Successful economies throughout the world have shown and proved that small business sector is the engine room for job creation. The more we ease doing business for SMEs, the greater our economic growth, the more jobs we can create. This includes getting the basics right, such as ensuring that businesses have reliable, affordable electricity, have basic services like clean running water, can utilize reliable infrastructure like quality roads, rails, and ports, as well as the premises being safe from crime. If we can get this right, we can build our industrial base and set the foundation for growth and jobs. We can also do more by scrapping non-worthwhile regulations, giving SMMEs an equal seat at the table in the national economic decision-making, as well as exempting SMEs from collective bargaining agreements, which tend to be unaffordable and skewed towards bigger business. More than commemoration, this year's Workers' Day must be a call to action, where we set out a national mission to place job creation and economic growth at the forefront. We must not think in terms of ideology or our political camps. Instead, we must have a sole focus on the policies based on evidence that work. Time is of the essence. We can use this parliament to turn the tide and not only have 60% of our young people in our country jobless, not have half of our country going hungry. With wages growing from a thriving economy, it is within reach. If we choose to work together in achieving a more equal and prosperous country, we will have jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is the Honourable Mukwele.
Honourable Chair, Honourable
Mukwele, just hold on for a moment. Honourable Matias.
before she takes the podium, we have informed the Deputy Speaker that is Honourable Mukwele's maiden speech. And it seems as if you are sleeping on duty, Honourable Horn.
Thank you,
That's
Honourable
not
Matias. I will take responsibility for it, although I don't see a note here. Honourable Mukwele, you are welcome. You are afforded the privileges of a maiden speech.
Thank you, Thank you, Chair. Revolutionary greetings to the Commander-in-Chief and President of the EFF, Julius Sello Malema, Commissars, Ground Forces, and South Africans. Today's debate is important as it reflects and honors an important day in the history of the world and here in South Africa, Workers' Day. To truly honor Workers' Day and its significance, we must first understand its origin, not as a date on the calendar for resting, but a global cry for dignity, justice, and liberation. Workers' Day is a product of working class struggle born from the fight against brutal exploitation and came in history by blood. One of the key events that led to the establishment of Workers' Day was the Haymarket protest, which occurred in Chicago, United States of America in May 1886. On May 1st, 1886, workers across US went on a strike to demand an 8-hour workday. The protest culminated in a massive rally in Chicago, Haymarket Square on May 4th, where tension escalated and a bomb was thrown, resulting in violence and fatalities. In the aftermath of Haymarket affair, several labor leaders were arrested and convicted, sparking international outrage and solidarity among workers around the world. In 1889, the Second International, a socialist organization, declared May 1st as an International Workers' Day to honor the Haymarkers and promote global solidarity against exploitation. Chair, unfortunately, the struggles, the cry, the exploitation, the ill treatment, overworking and underpaying of workers is still a harsh reality to this day. Our workers, both in the private and public sector, continue to suffer as in the hands of ruthless capitalist system that prioritize profit over our people. Chair, the EFF has established a labor desk that deals with day-to-day struggles of workers, both organized and unorganized, across all sectors. Pay gender disparity on women, especially on the JSE-listed companies, public and private sector, is worrisome. This pay disparity, especially in the JSE listed, where women in leadership only comprises 3%, is a call for a serious concern, and it exposes the ANC-led GNU for failing our people. Chair, 40% of our households in South Africa are led by women with financial responsibilities for their families. And while women take on more responsibilities, including for extended families and relatives, only 14% fall into the category of top earners. To pay women less for doing substantively the same as their male counterparts is an unfair labor practice, and that should be condemned in the strongest possible terms. As the EFF will be targeting, exposing, and holding these companies accountable to ensure that women are paid what they worth. We call on the workers, both private and public, to reach out to our labor desk to hold these companies accountable. Chair, today's theme demands more than just the mere rhetoric. It demands truth, and the truth is South Africa has not industrialized in a meaningful way since 1994. What we have witnessed is industrialization, casualization, and outsourcing instead. Our workers continue to work hard whilst remaining poor, and their masters getting richer and richer. South Africa remained trapped in a colonial and apartheid economic architecture. This was further aggravated by the directionless and wasted 30 years under the ANC government. You can only imagine what will happen now under the confused GNU government. To illustrate this point about the confused ANC-led GNU, your partner, the DA, has filed court papers challenging the Employment Equity Act designed to redress historic injustices. We have told you several times that they have no interest of our people at heart, but are in the GNU to protect the interest of whites, and now they are for their blue lambs. We are exporters of raw minerals and importers of finished products. We have mines all over the country, in Rustenburg, Northwest, and Beggarsford, Limpopo. These towns are known as platinum cities, yet there is no local beneficiation and little development to show. We cannot industrialize while our minerals are extracted by multinational corporations and shipped off for processing in Europe and China. We must nationalize our mines and strategic sectors of economy to enable the state to build domestic industries from steel and automotive to pharmaceuticals and agro-processing. We must reject the myth that only the private sector can lead to job creation and development. The state must build factories, own banks, invest in research development, and support Black industrialists who are committed to national development. We cannot realize decent work or social justice without dismantling the system of economic apartheid that ANC failed to dismantle in the past 30 years. We can never fully celebrate Workers' Day if our workers are not shareholders in the wealth of our country. The EFF stands firm with the working class of this country. As the EFF, we demand no retrenchment.
Thank you, Honourable
no
Member.
Brokers, no outsourcing,
Honourable Member,
no protection.
your time has now expired. I've even given you a few extra seconds.
Viva Terza, viva!
The next speaker on the virtual platform is the Honourable the Deputy Minister of Transport.
Thank you very much, Honourable House Chairperson. The IFP wants to salute the labour force that sustains our economy and reaffirm our commitment to decent work, dignity, and social and economic justice for all South Africans. The fight for decent work and social justice is not just symbolic, it is the backbone of any ethical and sustainable society. South Africa remains marred by structural unemployment, unstable working conditions, and deep economic inequality. The IFP believes that industrialization and trade, when people-centered and inclusive, can be a powerful tool to reverse this injustice. However, this needs to be backed by a capable state, ethical governance, and bold policy implementation. Meaningful industrialization must begin at home. We must prioritize local production, revive manufacturing, and promote South African-made goods in both domestic and international markets. Trade must serve our developmental goals, not deepen inequality. This means aligning trade deals with job creation, local value chains, and ethical labor standards. Decent work requires deliberate and measurable action. That is why the IFP will target ensuring that companies employ at least 80% South Africans, especially in entry-level and low-skill sectors. It is about economic justice for citizens, particularly the youth who remain locked out of opportunities in their very own country. We must at all material times put South Africa first. The 80-20 target is a bold but necessary step to restore dignity through employment and stimulate local enterprise. It's through such patriotic legislation, coupled with support for small businesses, skills training, and local procurement, that we begin to realize the promise of social and economic justice. House Chairperson, decent work must mean more than just an employment opportunity. It must mean fair wages that reflect the true value of labor and allows workers to live with dignity, free from the shackles of poverty. Safe working conditions must be non-negotiable. No worker should risk their life or health in the cause of earning a living. Furthermore, the right to organize, to join unions, and to collectively bargain must be fearlessly protected and promoted as a cornerstone of democratic participation in the workplace. Workers' rights are human rights. Workers cannot be expected to thrive, let alone contribute to the productive economy in an environment that strips them of their rights, undervalues their efforts, and treats them as expendable. A truly just society is one where dignity and humanity of every worker is upheld and where government institutions act as enablers of empowerment, not as obstacles to worker empowerment. At the heart of the IFP's vision is the African philosophy of Ubuntu. It reminds us that the well-being of each worker is inseparable from the well-being of our nation. The IFP believes that we must strengthen labor inspections, professionalize public service delivery, and root out corruption in bargaining councils and regulatory bodies. The IFP remains steadfast in championing a people-centered economy that is rooted in dignity, fairness, and national interest.
Honorable Deputy
Now is the time
Minister.
to leverage industrialization.
Honorable Deputy Minister, please just hold on.
But to build a nation.
Just hold on, Honorable Deputy
Speaker.
Minister. Honorable Reddy, why do you want to be recognized?
Honorable Speaker, that is the Deputy Minister speaking. Is he speaking as the Deputy Minister or is he speaking on behalf of his party?
No, Honorable Reddy. Obviously, Deputy Ministers are allowed to take part in political debates and the Deputy Minister is doing so. Thank you. Honorable Deputy Minister, please continue.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson. Part of the empowerment that we need to do as workers in Parliament, as members of Parliament, will obviously be the introduction of Rules 101 so that we can be disabused from the frivolous points of order that we've been subjected to by Honorable Reddy for the past year in this House. It undermines the work that we do because these interruptions are not about work, but about the limelight of the camera. Therefore, Honorable House Chairperson, let us leverage industrialization and trade not only to grow the economy, but to build a nation where no worker is left behind.
Honorable Deputy Minister,
South
just hold
African
on.
has a fair chance
Honorable Deputy Minister,
at a dignified life.
please just hold on. Honorable Mani, why do you want to be recognized?
Thank you, Chair. I'm rising in terms of Rule 85.
Yes.
That the member may not cast aspersions. We cannot have the Deputy Minister casting aspersions on Honorable Reddy and saying all the kinds of things that he has said about him as if he has an improper motive. The rules prohibit that. I need the ruling on that, Chair.
Okay, I will look at the Hansard and then come back. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Ngiyathokoza Sihlalo, sengiphetha siyafisa ukusho ukuthi ukubaluleka kwamalungelo abasebenzi eNingizimu Afrika kungumgogodla wenqubekela phambili lapho soqinisekisa khona ukuthi indawo abasebenza kuzo zisesimweni esifanele. Kodwa lilonke njengeqembu le-IFP sizimisele ukubuyisa umthetho osivivinyo kulendlu ukuba kuqashwe abantu baseNingizimu Afrika bemsebenzi kwingxenye ewu-80 ekhulwini u-80% sithi kwabantu baseNingizimu Afrika. Sesiphelile isikhathi ukuthi abantu bakithi babekwe emumva la kunamathuba khona lawo mathuba awacoshwe abantu baseNingizimu Afrika futhi siyalishaya ikhwelo.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Your time is now expired.
Ukuthi abantu bakithi basebenza ngendlela efanele. Siyathokoza Sihlalo.
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable Daniels.
Honorable House Chair,
Greetings to all honorable
Honorable
members.
Daniels, my apologies. Just hold on. Members on the virtual platform, please ensure that you are muted. Thank you. Honorable Daniels, my apologies once again.
Apology accepted. Honorable House Chair, members of Parliament, fellow South Africans. I'm here on behalf of the Patriotic Alliance to speak on Workers' Day. Nothing stops a bullet like a job. Then we want to talk about colored people being gangsters and this and all that because they're not getting employment. Workers' Day is not celebrated by most South Africans. Despite the promise of a united, non-racial South Africa, our government has failed to recognize white people, Indian people, and colored people as African. This exclusion perpetuates inequality, leaving these communities marginalized in employment, representation, and economic opportunities. I can't understand for the life of me that we refer to certain white people as Afrikaners. Often so. But in my understanding, an Afrikaner is African, if translated into English. Yet you cannot refer to them or regard them as African, but you call them African in your language. That doesn't make sense to me. Our system remains riddled with contradictions. I mean, talk about
Order, honorable members. Give Honorable Daniels an opportunity.
Point of order, Chairperson.
Honorable Daniels, just take your seat for a moment. Honorable
Certainly,
member,
Chair.
why do you want to be recognized?
Yeah, on two issues, Chair. Firstly, on relevance, the member doesn't seem to be debating the topic at hand. But secondly, it is factually incorrect to say that Afrikaners is a translation of African in English.
Yeah.
It's factually incorrect, like it's lying to South Africans.
Honorable member, on the first point, I think if after having listened to the speeches thus far, very few members have actually focused on leveraging the industrialization and trade to realize decent work. So I'll give him the leeway to continue. And on the second part, of course, he's taking part in a debate. He's giving us his opinion and he's entitled to do so. He has my protection to do so, and I expect of you to also respect his right to participate. Order. Honorable Daniels, please continue.
The issue here, they can say what they like with their military titles and all that. They can't even win a damn fight on PlayStation. Now, fact of the matter is, we talk about...
Honorable Daniels, just take your seat. Honorable Chair.
This is abuse. This is abuse.
Where I play PlayStation, he misleading the House, Chair. He can't refer to us that we are not winning their own PlayStation. He's nowhere when we play those damn stupid toys.
Yeah.
So he must stop misleading the House.
Yeah.
I've won so many games. If you want us to assist him.
Yeah. Thank you, honorable member.
He mustn't come here and
Honorable member, thank you. Just take your seat. Once again, that was a political jibe. However, Honorable Daniels, may I request of you to please ensure that you use language that upholds the decorum of the House. I don't think it is a good example to South Africans out there to use the word damn in the House. Please proceed.
My apologies, House Chair. I grew up with that word flying around.
Honorable Daniels, just hold on. Is that a new point of order, honorable member?
I rise on asking which game is he referring to, FIFA or...
No, honorable member. Honorable Daniels, continue.
You know, another uncomfortable truth is that we apply for jobs and then there's age restrictions. They say, no, you're too old to apply. But if I look around me, there's people in Parliament, even those not here today, who borders on 75 and 80 years of age, but they're not too old for jobs. But when our people apply, then they are not accepted because there's limits on age restrictions. You know, fellow South Africans,
we feel your pain. We understand that you are fit and able to do the work while others sleep in parliament because they say you're too old to apply. The biggest problem that you are faced with this of not recognizing everybody as African when jobs are being advertised is that as much as we understand that the imbalances of the past must be redressed, as much as we appreciate that transformation is key. But why is it that our children, my son and your daughter, who's 30 years of age, do not get jobs? But if it is an African son or daughter, they get the job who were never part of the struggle. But our children cannot become beneficiaries of our contribution to the struggle. That is not fair. You know,
Honorable members,
the problem
Honorable
is...
Daniels, please, honorable members, can we please not drown the speaker? Because we must all hear what the speaker is saying as well. So can we not drown the speaker? It's allowed to talk, but can we not shout, please? Honorable Daniels, take the podium. Honorable Daniels, please take your seat. Honorable Reddy.
Thank you, Honorable Acting House Chair, Deputy House Chair. The member there, I'm referring to Rule 84, unparliamentary or unacceptable languages or gestures. For one, he refers to African. Now, I am an African. I'm born in the continent of Africa. So I don't know exactly who he's talking about. So he's actually insulting me if he's calling me something else. I am an African. Maybe he doesn't know his identity. He needs to be very clear about who he is.
That is a point of debate, Honorable Reddy. Honorable Skosana.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to confirm him that he's an African himself. Thank you.
Okay, Honorable Daniels, please take the podium.
Thank you, Chairperson. Now I wish that our government official application forms for employment has only one column which is African, but that particular application form makes reference to African, Black, White, Indian, and other. And it's on the strength of that that I'm saying our children don't get jobs. So I want to propose something, a simple reform as job application should only require applicants to be 18 and above with no upper age limit. That competence, not birth dates, determine the employment of our people. I am African and we're fighting this fight. And for no reason do I want you to think, and I don't want the DA to gloat and think that we're fighting equal opportunities and equity.
Honorable Daniels, your time has expired.
This since 2016 when we came into
Honorable Daniels,
local
your
government.
time has expired.
Thank you so much.
This is a joke.
Honorable Sols.
No.
Honorable Dinner.
Thank you, House Chairperson. I will leverage the subject. The fourth industrial revolution is upon us. I dare say, from a government perspective, we may have already missed the very fast speed train of industrialization that has passed us by, while the ANC and the Labour Ministry has been taking us back to apartheid-like times where one's skin color dictates one's opportunities. And let me just say this, House Chair, no one argues that some form of redress is needed, but that redress lies in economic growth and prosperity for all, not in a perpetual cycle of discrimination into the oblivion of poverty and joblessness. You can't continue paying lip service to whoever still falls for the rhetoric of equal outcomes over equal opportunities with subjects like leveraging industrialization and trade to realize decent work and justice for all, social justice for all rather. But no one believes that rhetoric anymore anyway. You see, House Chair, it's difficult to believe in outdated ANC policies that find its way into modern day legislation if you don't have food to eat. Or worse, if you can't afford to feed your children, because unemployment has more than doubled since 2008. With legislation like the EEA and other race-based laws over-regulating the labour market to such an extent that the private sector, the largest employment creator in the country, cannot create job opportunities for the poor irrespective of skin colour. not to mention the investment opportunities that are lost because of it. It's difficult to believe that industrialization can be leveraged to realize decent work when businesses who provided work for thousands in rural areas have had to close their doors and move away from small towns because of poor local government, dilapidated infrastructure, polluted water, and poor municipal and public service shoved down the throats of South African citizens by Minister Meth's party, the ANC. And it's difficult to believe that things have and will indeed change while the poor get poorer and only a small elite group get richer. Waar ons wel industrialisering by uitstek sal sien, huisvoorsitter, is by besighede wat gaan mekaniseer om drakoniese oorregulering deur die regering te vermy, wat tot verdere werkloosheid sal lei. So wees gewaarsku, agbare minister, en is jammer sy is nie meer in die huis nie. Ek hoop sy luister op die platform. Voorsitter, dit is eintlik ironies dat vandag se onderwerp voorts ook fokus op Suid-Afrika se handelsbetrekkinge om werkskepping te bevorder, terwyl die ANC, let wel nie die RNE regering in hierdie geval nie, se internasionale betrekkinge en beleid soos 'n riller lees. Terwyl Suid-Afrika met die muisonde van die wêreld skaar, sal internasionale handelsbetrekkinge daaronder lê. Sal werkskepping daaronder lê en uiteindelik die wat elke keer die prys vir ondeurdagte optrede en uitsprake moet betaal, die armstes onder ons. Industrialisering en handelsbetrekkinge is een ding, maar as ons nie by die basiese beginsels gaan skaar en daarmee begin nie, soos die van ekonomiese groei, naamlik werkskepping, deur die privaat sektor in staat te stel om dit te doen, om besighede te bou en te groei sonder regeringsinmenging, behoorlike onderrig en opleiding om aanstelbare kandidaate daar te stel en behoorlike dienste en beveiliging, sal ons ook nie suksesvol wees met die eersgenoemde nie. Dan bly dit net lippediens, soos dit tans is. In reaction to my member statement earlier, the Minister of Labour said, and I quote, "We will force transformation down the throats of those who benefited." Now, Honourable Meth, now listen carefully, you can tell her if she's not listening. Honourable Meth, the only thing being forced by the ANC currently is perpetual poverty and despair down the throats of those, the poor, unemployed masses of this country. There is nothing to brag about, I thank you.
Honourable Trolley.
Honourable Chairperson, a true developmental state drives growth and jobs through a coherent industrial policy. In our case, there's no such policy, only lip service and a government without the vision to build an economy that works for its people. Contrast this with the Asian tigers. Taiwan, which we visited recently, adopted an export-led strategy, focused on high-tech industries and became a global leader in semiconductors. Its unemployment rate has dropped to 3.4%, the lowest in 24 years. Singapore, under Lee Kuan Yew, industrialized rapidly by attracting global firms and establishing a strong economic development board, cutting unemployment from 13.5% to 1.7% in less than 30 years. South Africa should be the African lion in economic terms. Yet after decades of ANC failure, our manufacturing sector is in crisis. And unless bold action is taken, a growing list of companies will follow ArcelorMittal into closure, and thousands of more workers will fall into unemployment. The imminent shutdown of ArcelorMittal's long steel operations threatens 3,500 direct jobs and up to 100,000 across the value chain. These are not statistics. They represent families facing hunger, young people losing hope, and communities and towns like Newcastle and Vereniging facing collapse. A year into the government of national disunity, the economy remains stagnant, with growth below 1%, record unemployment, and collapsing infrastructure. South African workers are beyond gutful of a government more interested in cabinet perks and in delivering the real reforms needed to unlock the 3 to 4% economic growth potential rate already being achieved by emerging market peers and countries elsewhere on the African continent. In a middle-income country like South Africa, industrial production should be a key driver for growth and employment. Instead, manufacturers are battling prolonged anemic economic conditions, logistics and energy challenges, unsustainable competition from low-cost imports and illicit trade in counterfeit goods. Action SA proposes a bold industrial policy reset where we prioritize labor-intensive strategic sectors like agriculture, steel and construction, fix freight rail, road and energy infrastructure, slash red tape to create business-friendly environment, and establish a high-profile, high-level, credible public-private industrial council to revive local manufacturing and reduce our dependence on import. We also call for more investment in the township economy, the seedbed of economic growth. That means financing local entrepreneurs, building industrial infrastructure in informal settlements, and cracking down on illicit economy. That's why we run campaigns like #Spaza for Locals, #Spaza for Growth. Illegal immigrants trading outside of the formal revenue framework cause a harmful hiatus in our economy, where cash is extracted and sent to their countries of origin. Now, May Day, Labor Day, and Workers' Day is celebrated internationally annually. It's supposed to recognize the labor movement and its achievements. With an expanded unemployment rate of 42% and youth unemployment at 60%, Workers' Day has become a cruel misnomer in South Africa. Jobs creation for South Africa should be the government's main priority. Those who masquerade as champions of the poor, both in government and in opposition now, but formerly in government, the ANC and the MKP, and in particular pseudo-communist party, should hang their heads in shame. South Africa needs a government. Oh, hang on. If you can dish it out, you must take it. South Africa needs a government that will bring meaning to celebration of Workers' Day. We should all be ashamed that there are so many unemployed South Africans on Workers' Day.
Honorable Thing on the virtual platform.
Thank you, Honorable House Chairperson. The ACDP celebrates all workers who have given their blood, sweat, and tears in the building of our country. South Africa, over the last 2 to 3 decades, has experienced a significant decline in industrialization. Manufacturing's contribution.
Honorable Three, let me hold there. There's a hand. Honorable Member.
Honorable Chair, I rise on Rule 64G just to actually check that the Honorable Mani is drinking coffee or tea in the House, and that is not what is allowed here. And there are other members.
Have not changed, Honorable Member.
Yes, Chair, I rise on a point of Ukhala.
No, Honorable Member, the rules have not changed. I think we all know that we are not allowed to drink or eat anything else other than water that is provided by Parliament. Honorable Mani, I think all honorable members here, if they come maybe with food or what, it's either maybe they will put it in bowls or something, and we see it all the time. It happens. You know that you also sit on the Rules Committee, so you know the rules of the House and of the Chamber. So the only thing that is allowed to be on the table is a bottle of water that is provided by Parliament. I will then request you that please, can you stop drinking tea or coffee while we're in session? And I'm not going to open it up for any further discussion. Honorable Thing, please continue.
Honorable House Chair, I'm not sure where you actually interrupted me right at the beginning. Could I start from the beginning?
Start afresh.
I stopped your time, Honorable Thing. You can continue where you left off.
Honorable House Chair, the
Honorable
ACDP...
Thing, please hold again. Honorable Member.
With respect, Chair, Rule 64G does not refer to drinking. It does not make drinking anything unlawful in this House. It does not refer to drinking at all. I've got it here, Chair.
Honorable Member, we're not going to get into that discussion. I have made my ruling. And I think Honorable Mani, as an honorable member of this house, will stop drinking the coffee and continue drinking the bottled water that
your
we
ruling
are
is not
provided
based on-
by Parliament.
Your ruling is not based on
No, honorable members, honorable members, if we are going to allow that everyone here will come bearing, whether it's a cup of coffee or a bottle of Red Bull or a Coca-Cola, then we are going to be disorderly.
but
So
we are
we
guided by the
cannot allow that to happen. It's in the
Order,
rules.
Chair.
It is in the rules.
Not there, Chair.
Order, Chair.
Honorable
64, can I
Mikalakis-
read it for you, Chair? It's not in the
Thank you. Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, it has now moved beyond the issue of coffee. And I refer to Rule 69C, where it says that if a member repeatedly undermines the authority of a presiding officer or repeatedly refuses to obey the rulings, that they are guilty of grossly disorderly conduct. It's moved beyond the point of just a coffee. It's now moved to a point where after you made a ruling, the chief whip of the opposition of all people carries on to defy your ruling, drinks the coffee as if you didn't make a ruling, and just simply is guilty of grossly disorderly conduct. If that is the case, and if you allow it respectfully, House Chairperson, then we are going to go down a path where your rulings are going to be undermined and ignored on every single instance. And I would like to ask you to please on whether the chief whip of the opposition is actually guilty of gross disorderly conduct, and then to ask him to remove himself from the House. Thank you.
Honorable members, honorable members, no, honorable members. It doesn't only refer to food. It's something that you consume with your mouth. So I'm not sure if maybe I should broadly explain that. And I've severally asked Honorable Mani to stop drinking the coffee that you are drinking and only stick to the drinking beverage that we are provided by Parliament, which is water. All honorable members here are allowed. Outside, there's a kitchen that is opened. You can go there, drink water, drink coffee, have anything that you would want, and come back and respect the decorum of the House. So I humbly ask all members who are currently drinking anything other than water that is provided by Parliament to please stop doing that. And if you want to do so, you can go outside. There are couches outside, you can do that. Eat means anything that you put in your mouth. So it doesn't have to refer to drinking and everything else. Honorable Reddy?
Chair, I think the first thing is we don't trust the water from Parliament. There's water in that cup.
Honorable
There's
Reddy?
water in the cup. And secondly, Chair,
Honorable Reddy?
with respect,
Honorable Reddy?
the relevant...
Honorable Reddy, I want to stop you right there.
The section was...
I want to stop you right there. You can't say you don't trust water that is provided by Parliament as if anyone here had died because of drinking water that is provided by Parliament. No, that is wrong. Can you withdraw that? Honorable Reddy, withdraw that.
We don't trust GNU, but
No,
withdraw
Reddy?
that. Yeah.
Reddy? Honorable Reddy, can you please withdraw that?
I withdraw that, Chair, but we don't trust GNU.
No, don't do that.
I withdraw. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Member.
Chairperson, I raise on 2 points of order. Firstly, the ACDP Speaker, Honourable Thring, has been continually interrupted. He indicated he's on the virtual platform. He's not sure where he should start, and I would suggest he starts again. My second point of order is on 9211, that you, as the presiding officer, your ruling on a point of order is final and binding and may not be challenged or questioned in the House. So I'd ask you now that we can continue and allow Honourable Thring to continue in participating in this debate. I thank you.
I intend to do so. That is why I was addressing everyone in the House, that we are all adults here. Can we please then adhere to the rules? Please. I humbly ask every honorable member in the House to please adhere to the House. Honorable Mulif.
With respect, Chair, eat and drink are two separate activities.
Honorable member, I told you we are not going to get into that
Wanted
discussion.
to say you shall not drink. They would have said so. You cannot eat alcohol, for example.
Honorable Mulifi. Honorable Mulifi. Honorable Mulifi, maybe your disadvantage is that maybe you came after when the rules have already been set. But here in this house, eat means drinking and eating. So we are not going to open it up for discussion. And it ends there. I've made a ruling. And if anyone else does that again, then I will definitely make another ruling on that. Honorable Thring, our apologies for disturbing you. I will request that you start from the beginning and we then all listen. Over to you.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair, for your indulgence. The ACDP celebrates all workers who have given their blood, sweat, and tears in the building of our country. South Africa, over the last 2 to 3 decades, has experienced a significant decline in industrialization. Manufacturing's contribution to GDP shrank from around 22% in the late 1980s to roughly 12% today. This decline is accompanied by a weakened industrial base, a reduction in manufacturing jobs and capital, resulting in less jobs for our millions of unemployed workers. The ANC's policy shift from import substitution industrialization during apartheid to GEAR, which is the Growth, Employment and Redistribution Framework, which focused on export-led growth and trade liberalization, and a failure to implement the requisite structural economic changes has led to a deindustrialization, with the manufacturing sector's share of GDP declining. South Africa's reneging on its non-aligned foreign policy stance between Israel and Hamas has placed us under international scrutiny, causing the possible loss of the AGOA trade deal, thus our ability to leverage our industrialization and trade to achieve decent work and social justice. We have failed to take advantage of our natural assets, remaining ensnared by a colonial mindset of exporters of raw materials and consumers of imported finished products. As solution providers, the ACDP posits that in order to grow our industrial base and trade routes, we need to tackle structural constraints to productivity growth, reduce institutional vulnerabilities, and target the root causes of low productivity. This requires strong policies to cut red tape, improve productivity, and enhance our international competitiveness. Finally, but not exhaustively, by expanding beneficiation across multiple sectors, which the ACDP has said numerous times, we could drive economic growth and employment, expand our industrial base and trade deals, while leveraging our natural resources and also the promising AfCFTA. I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Nkwankwa.
Thank you, House Chair. As we commemorate workers, the United Democratic Movement pays tribute to all South Africans whose labor builds and sustains our country, from farm workers and factory hands to nurses, teachers, cleaners, drivers, and every hand that turns the wheels of the South African economy. While this day is traditionally associated with fair wages and workers' rights, we should also emphasize the betrayal of the working class, of the youth, and of the Constitution's promise of dignity. Working people pay taxes, but see little benefit, especially in essential services. They make financial sacrifices, that yet they're subjected to overcrowded and under-equipped public hospitals, forcing them to seek costly private medical health care. They are forced to drink unsafe water and send their children to overcrowded schools with poor infrastructure, not to mention the unreliable public transport, which adds to their daily struggles. Our manufacturing sector, coming back to one of the themes of today's debate, our manufacturing sector is in decline. The April 2025 Absa Purchasing Managers Index, PMI, fell to 44.7, signaling a sharp drop in new orders and business confidence. Still, giants like ArcelorMittal threaten to close plants in South Africa, risking thousands of jobs. To curb these challenges, government must instill disciplinary measures towards the mismanagement of the public funds or corruption, and enforce advanced oversight on municipalities to ensure that at local government level, government is run properly to facilitate trade. Government should also invest more on industrialization, as it is crucial for rapid, sustained, and sustainable economic development, as industrialization will, without a doubt, create a room for creation of decent jobs and ensure economic growth, and in that way we can expand the workforce and ensure that there's prosperity for all. We also cannot ignore the continental picture. Africa stands at a crossroads, rich in natural and human resources, yet burdened by inequality, informal labor, and violent conflicts. Industrialization can be our engine of growth creation, especially on the continent, but only if it is inclusive, green, and grounded in workers' rights. We must expand the meaning of workers' rights to include the right to functioning public services, because decent work does not end at the payslip. It continues into a life lived with dignity, health, safety, and opportunity. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Kana.
Nakhensa Mthomashitoli, Africa Dzonga and Kweru. Today I rise for the workers of South Africa. I rise for the farm worker, the domestic worker, the cleaner, the security guard, the shop assistant, and all the workers of our country. I am a product of the working class, having been raised by a single mother who was a cleaner. Namhla itlangela siku ra vatirhi. Workers' Day is not just a public holiday, but a symbol of the hard-fought struggles, the sacrifices, and the triumphs of the working class. Since the dawn of our democracy, we have, as a country, made significant strides in advancing the rights and dignity of all workers through the introduction of the National Minimum Wage and legislation such as the Labor Relations Act, the Basic Conditions of Employment Act. These have laid the foundation for fairness, safety, and decent pay in the workplace. But our work is far from done. Numerous employers are still circumventing our labor laws and exploiting vulnerable workers, particularly those that are undocumented foreign nationals, paying them below the minimum wage and subjecting them to dangerous conditions. And this is unacceptable. The Employment Equity Act, a cornerstone of our efforts to redress the injustices of our past, is also under threat. I know there are some amongst us who continue to oppose employment equity and affirmative action policies. The mischaracterization of employment equity legislation must never go unchallenged. It is nonsensical to say that employment equity kills jobs. As Rise Mzansi, we unequivocally support employment equity and affirmative action policies as part of the process of eliminating the imbalances and discrimination of our not-so-distant past. As we move forward, we must strengthen enforcement, demand accountability, and build unity amongst all workers. Our laws must not only exist on paper, but in practice, in farms, in our homes, in factories, and also everywhere where workers are. As we celebrate Workers' Day, we must remember the past, celebrate the progress that has been made, and commit to a future where every worker is respected, protected, and empowered.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Webster.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. On days like this, we remember, and sometimes it's a temptation to only remember, but we must do more than that. We must reckon with the reality that we face in this country. This country was built on the back of workers. The mines that we have in this country, the industries, the cities, the roads, everything that we have was built on the back of workers in this country. And furthermore, workers in this country, they not only gave their labor, their sweat, and their defiance, they also fought with courage against apartheid, and they laid the foundation of our democracy. So we owe those people, as we remember, more than just gratitude. We owe them to build a South Africa in which people of South Africa can thrive, in which people of South Africa can have the dignity of work. Yet what we see in our country today, we see a generation of young South Africans that are locked out of the dignity of work. In South Africa, we have more young people who are unemployed than young people who are employed. We have more young people who are underemployed, who are hustling for survival, than those who are working. And so the dignity of work, the right to build a life, has been stolen from too many South Africans, and that is what we must reckon with. Work is not a luxury. Work is justice. Economic justice when families can provide. It is social justice when opportunity reaches every single home, not just a few towns and not just a few suburbs. It's spatial justice when jobs exist where people work and not 2 hours or 3 hours away from home. It's ownership justice when workers are empowered to actually start businesses and create wealth themselves. And it's educational justice when a salary can actually sustain and be invested in a dream. So this Workers' Day, what we've got to do is move from nostalgia to deal with the necessities of this country. And as Build One South Africa, we have launched a growth charter which speaks to igniting 5% annual growth in our country so that we make work possible for millions more in our country. We need to fix the ease of doing business for entrepreneurs and SMMEs. We need to invest in township and rural economies and make them hubs of production and innovation. We need to overhaul infrastructure so that goods, services, and people can move freely and affordably. We have to unlock skills, financing, and new markets so that South Africans can work and they can trade and they can thrive. We need to get to a point where growth is not just a number, but it's about workers finding dignity, where growth is justice and it needs to come alive in our country. We're not going to achieve justice with just slogans. We will achieve justice actually with work in our country and with ownership. The workers of yesterday marched for freedom. The workers of today march for a future, for dignity. And it's time for us, those of us who are in this house, to make sure that we fight and we work towards making sure that in this country we build that, and that we have more than work, that we have ownership, that we have prosperity, and we indeed are standing on those shoulders of those who fought for the dignity that we give the rest of the country today. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Zungula. The Honorable Deputy Minister of Social Development. Honorable Musikati.
Thank you, House Chair. Let me take this opportunity to first correct my surname. It's not Musikati, it's Musikati, S-I-T. My debate will be based on leveraging industrialization efforts to support full employment and the need for South African workers. Chairperson, there is a widely held belief that new liberal economics have permitted all areas of the ANC-led government economics thinking, resulting in economics policies that favor big business and foreign capital to the detriment of organized labor and workers' interests. In short, this belief implies that the ANC-led government's neoliberal stance fails to support worker struggles and thus weaken the power of organized labor, reflected in the systematic exclusion of organized labor from policy making. I will be arguing in this debate that this commonly held belief reflects a particularly naive version of the avoid of the ANC-led government extremely influential role in informing design of a progressive labor market and legislation that benefits organized labor. For instance, the government commitment to articulate the interests of organized labor manifested through the adoption of a progressive legislation that challenged apartheid workplace forms of control and discipline such as the National Economic Development and Labor Council Act of 1994, the Labor Relations Act of 1995, the Basic Condition Employment Act of 1997, the Skills Development Act of 1998, the Social Plan Act of 1998, and the Employment Equity Act of 1998 are things that the ANC can justifiably claim credit for. Apart from this progressive legislation signifying victories for organized labor, the ANC-led government has been in pursuit of an industrialization in a manner concrete to the needs of the organized labor. In particular, organized labor and workers' interests are central to the program and incentive schemes undertaken by the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition, which is the pilot Department of Industrialization and Developmental State in South Africa. The Black Industrial Scheme, for example, offers an insight on how organized labor and workers' interests remain high on the agenda of the DTIC. Overall, a total of 161,300 skilled and low-skilled workers have been employed over 135 enterprises owned by Black industrialists. Since the announcement of the Black Industrialist Scheme in 2016, thus indicating that the ANC-led government's commitment representing organized labor and workers' interests is not a radical exercise. In addition to this, over 551,000 workers are now covered by the IDTC Workers' Share Ownership Program, intended to enable workers to be owners of the companies they work for. It is important to note that workers' share ownership programs are not designed to incorporate workers who are predominantly Black into an incumbent firm, or nameplates to win state contracts, hereby creating a false perception of compliance that undermines the spirit of structural transformation and inclusive development. Rather, worker share ownership programs expose workers to key operational aspects, incumbent firms in which they become shareholders so that they could gain skills and experience necessary for building new enterprises in their medium to long run. Interestingly, through this exposure, workers can counter the common practice of downsizing the labor force by incumbent firms to increase profit for shareholders. Moreover, worker share ownership program also reverse the negative consequence of financialization for the South African organized labor in terms of the distribution of profit gains due to productivity output and income by enabling workers to share high rates of corporate profits which others shareholders. As South Africa grapples with the rising levels of unemployment, the achievement of full employment is principal. Accordingly, the DTI programs and incentive schemes have proved to realize the ANC-led government's priority of reducing unemployment. By December 2024, for example, 140,000 job opportunities across 6,000 sites nationwide were created through the Social Employment Fund, which formed part of the Presidential Employment Stimulus administered by the DTIC via the Public Development Finance Institution, namely the Industrial Development Bank. Worth mentioning it is that the Social Employment Fund has won the Prosperity Catalyst Award at the 2024 Bay Awards in Bilbao in Spain for its significant impact in South Africa, especially regarding its impact in addressing long-term unemployment, which contributes to skill erosion and reduces the probability of being hired in the future. Other DTIC programs and incentive schemes guided by the humanitarian concerns, particularly workers' interests and the right to decent work, include 7 master plans which cover 743,000 workers across various sectors of the economy. comprising but certainly not limited to the automotive industry, food and beverages industry, chemicals and steel industry, and film industry. The retail, clothing, textile, footwear, leather master plan, which has created over 20,000 jobs following its rollout, is an example that demonstrating how the master plan administered by the DTIC guide the ANC-led government priority of reducing unemployment in the country. Chairperson, the ANC-led government is not misplaced with respect to the support for organized labor and workers' interests. The
Honorable
ANC-led
Musikati,
government.
please take your seat, ma'am. Honorable Reddy.
Thank you, Chair, House Chair. I rise in terms of Rule 64G, where it says nowhere about drinking, but the member Beasley is drinking this water. I'd like to know if this is Parliament water, because it says Aqua Bella. There's no, please. The members must please be disciplined. Keep the quorum of the
Honorable
House.
members,
This
honorable
water
members,
says,
no.
no, this is
Honorable members, honorable members,
order.
honorable members from the right-hand side.
Protect me, please.
Honorable
protect
members, honorable members, honorable members, I provided Honorable Reddy an opportunity to speak. Can we please allow him to speak? I will then make a ruling after that.
Thank
There is absolutely nothing wrong with doing that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Honorable Reddy.
Chair, you ruled that this must be parliamentary water. Now this says Aqua Bella. Who is Aqua Bella? And is this parliamentary water? If you can confirm that, because the rule doesn't say anything about drinking. Tomorrow I'll come with a bottle of Jameson and drink alcohol here, because the rule does not speak anything, Chairperson, about drinking. Please read the rule. I'd like to get an opinion from our judges in the front here. Who is the
Honorable Reddy,
provider of
okay,
this
we've
water?
heard your point.
Aqua Bella, thank you.
Which is my point.
Chairperson. Thank you.
Honorable Reddy, I said water that is provided by Parliament. I didn't say water that is written Parliament. So water that is provided here by Parliament is water that we are going to drink. Whether it's aqua water or aquel water or Valpre water, it doesn't matter. That is what we are going to drink. And sorry for disturbance. Please continue, Honorable Musikati.
Madam Speaker.
Honorable Member. Honorable Musikati, please take your seat again.
Yeah, Chair, I'm rising on a point of order. Yeah, the matter
honorable members from the left-hand side now. I know, honorable members, honorable member with the green beret. Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
I did the same. So can we please allow a member that is provided an opportunity to say what they want to say, and then we proceed.
Yeah, Chair, the matter that Honorable Reddy is raising has nothing to do with the member who's on the podium. So why couldn't Honorable Reddy wait for the member to finish her speech before raising that particular matter? Because it has nothing to do with the member who's on the podium, Chairperson.
Honorable member, you are also disturbing the member on the podium, because I had already given her an opportunity to finish the speech, and then we continue. Honorable Musikati, please take the podium, ma'am.
Thank you, Chair. The ANC-led government considerations of organized labor and workers' interests in policy making are well illustrated in the DTIC program and incentive schemes that attempts to address the shortage of skills, workers, as well as severe hindrance of South Africa's ability to meet its developmental goals. Manufacturing support program and the technology and human resource for industry program, for example, transfer available skills to workers, especially those affected by the unequal distribution of education opportunities, and therefore are critically important for a long-run improvement of a position of vulnerable and unskilled workers. Furthermore, lending mechanisms of the public DFIs under the leadership of the DTI tend to bias in favor of labor-intensive sectors of the economy, such as the mining and the agriculture industry. Such lending mechanisms benefit workers in some important aspects, since they enable firms in the mining and agriculture industries to sustain decent wages, and in some cases increase wages by the modest amount of inflation, which in return not only minimize unemployment, but
Honorable
also keep
Musikati,
poverty
your time has
inequality
expired,
in
ma'am.
check. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Adams. Honorable Manyu.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just wanted for us as MK Party to rise and advise Parliament that service providers must not benefit from the free marketing of Parliament. Bottles like these should be stripped of the label, because otherwise, unless it's part of the tender, in fact, see the fact that the thieves on this side are already—
Honorable Manyu.
Would like to
Honorable
know—
Manyu.
Chair, I'm still on the floor. When
Honorable
thieves are
members,
complaining
no.
like this, then you must know. Then
Honorable members.
Now I want to know, in addition,
Honorable members.
I want to know whose tender is this?
Honorable members from
Whose
the right hand
tender
side.
is this? I want to know, Chair. Who has this tender? Now that the thieves are grumbling, whose tender is this, Chair? Who has this tender?
Honorable Manyu.
There must be a kickback to the thieves. Whose tender is this?
Fenta, you are doing free
Honorable
market with the
Manyu.
Guptas.
Honorable Manyu, currently we're on a debate for Workers' Day. So I'm sure whatever concerns or any other discussions you'd want to take, you know other platforms that you can take them to. But for now, can we focus on the debate on Workers' Day? Honorable Adams, please take the podium.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, I'm surprised that the EFF has not yet brought a motion to this House to have Workers' Day called Marikana Day. Because it was on that day that we discovered what the owners think of the workers. It was on that day that we realized that we are expendable as workers. But speaking as a colored man, so few of us work, we really don't see the benefit of Workers' Day. When you walk into Parliament, show me, where's the employment equity? We are in Cape Town after all. Speak to me about the Department of Labor that in 2019 appointed 48 client service providers at the Department of Labor, and not a single colored was there. I kicked open those doors. We discovered with the help of the Human Rights Commission that 1,500 colored children had their CVs thrown in a bin. There were no repercussions. Speak to us, the Aboriginals, the subsistence fishermen, the fishermen from Simonstown to Port Nolloth, who you turned into poachers by giving out permits to people who live where there's no seawater. Speak to us and understand that on the Cape Flats, boredom literally kills. Gang violence, drug addiction, it's linked to unemployment. But does this House care? It's only a colored life after all. Our children stand at the back of every queue. Whether it's work, whether it's study, whether it's bursary, the colored child always finishes a distant third. I don't want to talk about the DA because there's nothing to talk about. Their idea of employment equity is 50% managed by whites, most of them with matric certificates. And their leader has the temerity to question our management skills. They're about to bring Marius Koen back into Saldanha Bay. He said coloreds aren't fit for management positions. They didn't say a thing about it. It's the unofficial party stance. Those people don't care. I believe the short whip has a point of order. Okay. Sorry, Chief Whip, sorry.
Honorable Adams. Honorable Adams. Honorable Adams.
I did apologize, Chairperson.
I'm the chairperson. I can see the hands, so I will point at a hand. You must
Chairperson-
continue now.
Chairperson, there was no disrespect. He was getting agitated because I was pointing out.
No,
white supremacy.
continue with your speech and yes.
Are you going to?
Oh, Honorable Mikalakis.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. House Chairperson, first I would like to ask that you go back to the Hansard and rule on the way in which the member referred to myself. It is simply the parliamentary principle, not I don't care what he calls me, I'll take it from who it comes. But I also would like you to please go back to the Hansard and rule on the fact that the honourable member misleads the House by indicating that the Minister of Agriculture actually referred in a specific way to a specific grouping. And I believe
Marius
that
Koen
that
is not the
misleading
minister,
House.
sir.
Honourable
That is
Adams.
utterly untrue.
Honorable
I'd
Adams.
like your ruling on that.
Honorable Adams. Honorable Adams, I had not provided you an opportunity to speak. Please no. I was still listening to Honorable Mikalakis because he had raised a hand. So can we please respect each other in that manner? Are you done on?
No, House Chairperson, I would like the member to please withdraw his false statement. Thank you.
Okay, we will go back to Hansard, listen to that, and then come back with the ruling. Continue for now, Honorable Adams.
Chairperson, just before I continue, I know Alan Ziller is their God, but she's not the Minister of Agriculture. That is actually Past John.
Honorable Adams,
Oh, yes,
there's
Chairperson.
another hand. Can you please take your seat? Honorable Daniels.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I think it is important.
Honorable members, I can't hear a thing if I have provided another member to speak and we are all speaking.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. It is important that I have to raise this point because I do not think that the Honorable Adams was misleading. Even their leader, Helen Ziller, referred to colored people not being qualified and fit for their job.
Honorable Daniels. Honorable Daniels, that is not a point of order. That is not,
Apologies,
no, that is not a point of order.
Apologies, Chair, but it's still a fact.
Honorable Adams, please continue.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, all we as colored people want is the same opportunities everyone else does. That's all we want. We want to work, we want to learn, we want to contribute. We want to celebrate Workers' Day along with everyone else. Colored men don't work. Their wives work, their mothers work. They are not real men anymore. And the sad thing is it was systemic. We want to contribute, we want to be a part. Allow us to be a part. Don't be like them. Thank you.
Honorable Minister of Land Reform and Rural Development. On the virtual platform. Honorable
Thank
Mahlatsi.
you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, House Chair. My apologies for my network that suddenly did, but it's back now.
Deputy Minister.
Honorable
Deputy
House Chair.
Minister.
Uh,
Deputy Minister.
yes.
Called you a long time ago and you did not respond. I think now we've passed 3 speakers after you and you did not respond. I'll provide you with your 3 minutes and then it will be Honorable Mahlatsi after that. Continue, Deputy Minister. So the table had indicated that he is on the platform, but maybe had a trouble of unmuting or what. So, Honorable Trolip.
Honorable House Chair, I have a point of order.
Yes.
In this House, when a member is called to speak and they miss their speaking turn, they miss their speaking turn. And you called the Honorable Deputy Minister and he didn't respond, therefore he's missed his speaking turn. If you change the rules midstream, You're going to regret it because a member will arrive here after having tea outside and said, sorry, you know, I missed my turn. That is the convention and we expect you to stick to it.
That is not the convention, by the way. We can allow members to speak only if the second last speaker is not the one that is speaking. So I've not called on the TA, I've not called on the ANC, I was still on the smaller parties. And this is not the first time actually this happens. I have given an opportunity to any other member who had missed it because of they were on the virtual platform or something. So it is not the first time this happens. And we are still on the speakers list. So there's no time that we have exceeded or anything. So we are still on the smaller parties. That is why I'm then providing him an opportunity. But if it was an opportunity for me to call on the DA, then he would have missed that opportunity to speak, but not now. So it's not a convention, as you say, Honorable Trollip. Honorable Nyamanye?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, we have just been reminded that when the Chair has made a ruling, this is not a place to challenge the ruling. The Chair has made the ruling. We do want to hear Honorable Ray Charles. Thank you.
Honorable Deputy Minister, please continue.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your indulgence, House Chair, and my sincere apologies. The debate on this International Workers' Day is about decent work. It was President Mandela who threw his weight behind the International Labour Organization and gave support for the Convention on Decent Work. South Africa signed this convention and it is part of this Parliament's mandate. So let me congratulate the Speaker for framing the topic of this debate. President Mandela was the first recipient of the annual award, and in the second year of the convention, Comrade Winnie Mandela got the award. So two of our national heroes, icons, promoted decent work. Decent work means to support the NHI, which was passed by this Parliament. Honourable members of this House pay lip service to respect their Parliament and are going to great lengths to undermine their own Parliament. They are even writing to Donald Trump or get some billionaire to write to him to overturn an act of Parliament, and which is a disguise for regime change. The same for the Bella Act, the Land Expropriation Act, and now the Employment Act. We have, with respect, Honourable House Chair, political parties in our Parliament who are fifth columns. How can you undermine your own Parliament and your own constitution? Workers who took their turn in the trenches to bring down apartheid belong to different liberation movements, and they knew only one day, when we have our freedom, one party will govern, but hoped for a government of national unity. Political parties who identify with this aspiration has unfortunately chosen to let the DA, with roots in apartheid, to stand in their place. The DA is in the GNU because of those parties who has gone against the aspirations of workers. A government of national unity brings stability, and we need stability to improve our GDP and reach 10% growth. So those parties who should be in the GNU in place of the DA must show that they want to bring about stability and not use their numbers to bring down the political party that has the most support of the people of South Africa. The question on Workers' Day is whether the EFF and the MK parties prepare to do so and take up the historical space in the GNU. Weakening the ANC and giving the DA space is anti-revolutionary. Even President Zuma will agree with me. Even Commander-in-Chief Julius Malema will agree with me. So let me congratulate workers on International Workers' Day and let us respect their aspirations. Thank you very much, Honourable House Chair.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Honorable Mahlatsi.
Thank you, Chairperson. Kgotso, Africa. Honorable members, it is not a secret, and let us not pretend otherwise, that consciousness has escaped the former liberation movement. The moral and ideological compass that once guided them has been traded for boardroom deals and the cold calculus of neoliberal economics. Today they march to the rhythm of capital, not to the drumbeat of our people. We all heard the Minister of Finance standing tall, almost boastful, declaring that VAT will increase on the 1st of May. Let us pause here. That is May Day, the Workers' Day. The day we honor blood, sweat, sacrifice of working class. A day rooted in resistance, struggle, in the memory of miners, domestic workers, factory laborers, township mothers who carried the revolution on their back. To announce a VAT increase, a regressive tax that punished the poor and the working class on May Day is not just a tone deaf. It is a slap on the face of the very people who lifted African National Congress on their shoulders and placed them on the Union building. Or have they forgotten? Maybe. It was not capital that freed this nation. It was the mass action of the exploited. It was the collective strength of the workers, and yet today they are punished, not praised. The ANC, once a symbol of resistance, is now proudly implementing the orders of neoliberal machine. They speak fiscal responsibility, not social justice. They quote balance sheets, but ignore empty stomachs. Let me be clear. The United African Transformation rejects the betrayal of the working class. We reject policies that deepen inequalities and serve foreign interests over African dignity. Our movement is rooted in Pan-African consciousness. We remember, we honor, we build. Our call is simple. Let Africa rise in unity and in principle. Let us reclaim the revolutionary ethics that has been lost to the corridors of comfort. Let us build the economy for our people, not for the markets. Let us honor May Day, not with taxes, but with justice. The UAT will not rest until African child walks with dignity, eat with fullness, and govern with consciousness. Aluta continua, kanimambo.
Honorable Mdluli.
House Chair, members of the House, and fellow South Africans. Today, as we commemorate Workers' Day, we must ask, what kind of an economy are we building for the workers of today and for tomorrow? This is not a rhetorical question. It is a challenge to all of us in this House. We must be united by a commitment to constitutionalism, accountability.
Honorable Mdluli, can you please pause? Honorable members, there by the corner, you are honestly drowning the speaker. We can't hear anything. Continue, Honorable Mdluli.
We must be united by a commitment to constitutionalism, accountability, and inclusive development. These are not abstract ideals. They must translate into policy outcomes that deliver.
Honorable Mdluli, please take your seat.
Sorry,
What's
Chair-
the point of order,
Chairperson,
Honorable
what
Reddy?
if I need translation services. I'm not sure what language is being spoken there. Can you please get us translation?
You're out of order, Honorable Reddy.
Thank you.
Honorable Mdluli, please continue.
They must translate into policy outcomes that deliver economic growth, decent jobs, and rising living standards. The Democratic Alliance's core contribution to this effort lies in reshaping our industrialization and trade policies to support a growing, competitive, and job-creating economy. We must be honest. South Africa's industrial policy and trade regime have failed to deliver the levels of job creation and investment we need. This is not because of a lack of good intentions, but because the architecture of these policies has prioritized control over competitiveness, protection over innovation, and consolidation over expansion. Honorable members, South Africa is facing a long-term crisis of deindustrialization. Since 2006, our manufacturing sector has steadily declined as a share of GDP, shedding more than 300,000 jobs. At a time when countries across the global south are industrializing rapidly, we have fallen behind. This crisis has consequences. Fewer factories means fewer jobs. Less manufacturing means fewer entrepreneurs. Slower export means less foreign currency, lower investments, and greater fiscal pressure. And a shrinking productive capacity undermines our sovereignty because a country that cannot make its own goods becomes a country that cannot shape its future. If we want to reverse this, we need a new approach. The DA advocates for an industrial policy pyramid, one that prioritizes foundational conditions like skills, safety, and regulatory reform before trying to pick industrial winners. Industrial policy should not be about directing capital from top to bottom. It should be about clearing the path for business, large and small, to grow, compete, and employ. To create the jobs that South Africans do desperately need, we must have a rapid, robust economic growth. The one cannot exist without the other. This means focusing on a reliable electricity and logistics, efficient port operations, investment-friendly regulations, cutting red tape, and partnerships between governments, industry, and as well as educational institutions to build the skills pipeline into sectors with global demand. For example, SEZs can play a critical role, but only if they are aligned to real comparative advantage, governed transparently and embedded in an enabling ecosystem. They must not become
Honorable
slaves of
Mdluli,
privilege.
please take your seat. Honorable member.
Thank you, House Chair. I wanted to check if the speaker is able to
Don't
take a
point at
question.
us. What is the point of order?
The point that the speaker I want to check if he's able to take a question.
No, I'm not taking any questions.
Honorable Mdluli, are you able to take a question?
No.
There, you got it.
Yes.
Continue.
They must not become enclaves of a privilege, but incubators of inclusive growth and jobs for all. House Chair, industrial policy cannot succeed without a coherent trade strategy, and here too, reform is urgently needed. Our trade regime has often acted as a barrier rather than apply tariffs on key inputs and intermediate goods when it supports infant industries, but it becomes counterproductive when it entrenches uncompetitive monopolies and limits access to cheaper or higher quality inputs. Trade reform must be guided by a clear goal to expand South Africa's export base, especially in labor-intensive industry. This includes
Honorable Mdluli, please take your seat. What is the point of order,
Chair,
Honorable Reddy?
in terms of the rule, the member is not supposed to be reading. I don't mind if he reads, but at least look up, because he's constantly reading his
Honorable
head is
Reddy.
down and only reading. The rules prohibit.
Honorable Reddy. Honorable Reddy. Yeah, I can see you have all the energy that you need. Honorable Mdluli, please continue. You can read from the speech.
Okay.
Okay. Please hold. There's another hand.
Chair, I rise on Rule 85(1). And I submit to you that the Honorable Reddy is verbally abusing the member at the platform, and he needs to desist from it. He has raised 2 points of orders, which are frivolous, and I ask that you allow the member to continue. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. We'll caution Honorable Reddy for now. Honorable Mdluli, continue.
At the same time, we must fully utilize existing trade agreements, such as AGOA and the SACU-EU Economic Partnership Agreements. Our current underperformance on these platforms is not due to these agreements themselves, but rather the lack of coordinated trade promotion, customs efficiency, and support for new exporters. This Workers' Day, we must reaffirm our commitment to dignity to work. But dignity cannot come from stagnant factories, closed ports, or barriers to entry. It must come from a rapidly growing economy that creates jobs, exports, and competes. From a state that empowers entrepreneurs rather than constraining them, from policies that expand opportunity rather than the GNU, is to help build such a rooted in fiscal discipline, competitive markets, inclusive growth, and job creation. Let us move beyond ideological industrial policy and towards a strategy that puts South Africans to work, not through protectionism, but through economic growth, entrepreneurship, production, partnership, and trade. Let us restore South Africa's place as a growing, productive, exporting, job-creating economy. That is the most powerful tribute we can pay to our workers, not just today, but every day. I thank you.
Thank you. I will now recognize the last speaker for this debate, the Honorable Deputy Minister of Employment and Labor.
Thank you so much, House Chair. I thought you were going to mention my name. I was eagerly awaiting to hear you mentioning my surname. Okay, let me acknowledge the Chief Whip of the ANC. Let me acknowledge ministers, deputy ministers also on the platform, Nemadzinga Chabalala. Let me acknowledge the workers of this country, including members of parliament, because too, they are workers, they are workforce. The ANC from 1943, the African Claims to 1955, Freedom Charter, the 1992, Ready to Govern has always been consistent in advancing the rights of the working class. We've over time firmly advocated that Africans must be granted equal access to all trades, profession, and industries, supported by adequate technical and university education. As the ANC, we have argued that workers should receive equal pay for work of equal value, a minimum wage for the unskilled labor, their right to collective bargaining and full social net benefits funded by the government and employers. Furthermore, we have said that racial discrimination in the workplace must be abolished, and all industrial welfare legislation must extend to Africans in agriculture, domestic services, and public institutions. To this end, since 1994, we have developed a legislative framework and adopted policies that promote decent work and social justice. In addition, our labor laws and policies are geared towards job creation and industrial productivity. In demonstrating our resolve, the South African Constitution recognizes that workers' rights to form and independent trade unions, engage in collective bargaining, and participate in the industrial action and protected under Section 23 of the Constitution, and it outlaws forced labor. Our government affirms that the rights of the working class are human rights guaranteed under the Bill of Rights in the Chapter 2 of the Constitution, achieved by the ANC democratic government led then. Yesterday was the birthday of Karl Marx, who was born on the 5th of May 1818. Marx, together with Frederick Engels, gave us the call and said, "Workers of the world, unite. You have nothing to lose but your chains." This was a clarion call for the international solidarity amongst the working class to fight against capitalism and imperialism exploitation. May Day is also known as International Workers' Day, some of you have said, is a significant occasion and celebrates the contribution of workers to economic development and highlights the importance of labor rights in South Africa. May Day gained prominence during the anti-apartheid struggle as trade unions used it to mobilize resistance against exploitative labor force system. Trade unions played a critical role in the fight for democracy and labor rights. Organizations such as COSATU, formed in 1985 and representing over 1.8 million workers by the early 1990s, emerged as powerful voices against exploitation. These unions not only advocate for better wages and working class, but also became key allies in the broader political struggle against apartheid. In celebrating the Workers' Day, we're also reminding of the leader or leading trade unionists such as Jay Naidu, John Nkadimeng, President Cyril Ramaphosa as negotiators by the ANC. International solidarity was crucial in the fight of labor movement in the world, supported by South African trade unions. Through sanctions and awareness campaign and material support, this global pressure helped isolate the apartheid regime and underscored the importance of international cooperation in promoting fair labor standards. We like it, we don't like it, it's a history, and the history was led by the ANC and its alliance. I'm just reiterating, so those who don't know, then they can remember. With the dawn of democracy, the ANC introduced 1995 Labor Relations Act, 1997 Basic Conditions of Employment Act, and related sectoral determination known as SDAs, Occupational Health and Safety Acts, Compensation for Injuries and Disease Act, COIDA, the 1998 Employment Act legislation designed to protect workers' rights, promote fair employment practices, and ensure workplace equity. This was Elijah Bahai, who fought against mine workers who used to die in the mines in the workplace, and it would be business as usual. But today, since the change, the advent of a democratic dispensation done by the ANC government. One significant change was the protection of vulnerable groups such as labor tenants and agricultural workers. Historically marginalized, these workers were granted new rights under democratic legislation, including the right to unionize, fair wages, and protection against unfair labor dismissal. Honorable members, the South African government has adopted several industrial policies to drive inclusive growth and create equality jobs. The Industrial Policy Action Plan, launched in 2007, the NDP aimed to diversify the economy, support manufacturing, enhance value-added exports. These strategies are designed to stimulate job creation while embedding labor rights within industrial expansion. The 8 special economic zones such as Tshwane, SEZ, Dube Trade Port have been developed to attract investment and foster employment. However, these zones are also regulated to ensure that job creation does not come at the cost of workers' rights. While commemorating Workers' Day, we acknowledge the persistently high unemployment rate, currently seated at 31.9%. Despite recent declines, we call on the employers to partner with the government and other stakeholders to create sustainable jobs, promote training, and uphold labor laws to ensure stable and secure labor market. To address unemployment, particularly amongst young people, women, and persons with disabilities, the government has implemented several initiatives. The Presidential Employment Stimulus Program that has created over 1 million opportunities since its launch in 2020, more than 80% beneficiaries being young people and 60% being young women. Additionally, the National Youth Development Agency has been allocated 704.3 million to continue implementing the revitalized National Youth Service Program. Minimum wage legislation introduced in 2019, 20 Rand per hour, later adjusted to 28.79 per hour for 2025, effective from March this year. This marks a 4.4% increase from the 2024 rate of 27.58 per hour, done by the ANC. Trade unions remain central to balancing industrial growth for workers. COSATU and other unions actively participate in policy formulation through platforms such as the National Network, which has been instrumental in shaping labor economic policies since 1995. Shame on those honorable member that was really looking down on the network. Technological innovation and automation offer both opportunities and risk in South Africa's workforce productivity, while potentially causing job losses, especially for low-skilled workers. Proactive policies such as National Digital and Future Skills Strategy 2020-2025 aim to promote skills training and ensure workers benefit from the economy. So we're saying retraining must happen so the workers don't get marginalized. Honorable Chairperson, let me quickly take a moment to really address the hypocrisy of the Democratic Alliance that perpetually being in the GNU and wants to behave like an opposition perpetually while they're in government, while they've also going against progressive legislation, things that the ANC government in the 6th administration that has been able to do in different ministries where they are in. Today, they're claiming all those glory and wanted to say they've done this. This is the ANC government that has been leading this discourse. Now, this shameful DA, they claim to be transformative, but they fight against Employment Equity Act. The Employment Equity Amendment Act is about diversity and equity in the workplace. It is about restoration of the rights and dignity and the defense of the progressive gains of the working class. Contrary to what the DA claims, the Amendment Employment Equity Act will not drive away investment and lead to closure of small business. The department will embark on nationwide roadshows to explain the amendment. The DA does not understand what is fair discrimination means, even when the reference in the Constitution. Shame on you and that leader that has went to court to challenge this matter. We want transformation and we're not going to be able to regress on it. And as the ANC, we want to warn you as much as we are with you in the GNU. When it comes to this matter, we want to tell you that you are testing us. When you test the workers, the migrant workers, when you test those social workers, that today we have made sure that domestic workers, they have dignity in their own homes. Today, how dare you go and challenge when you speak about minimum wage and set aside. This we will not forgive you, and South Africans will not forgive you, because you are taking us to the past where we're coming from. Unless if you want to sit in the past, just like the Freedom Front Plus, you better join them and be with them. This dear anti-working class and wants to reverse the gains of the working class. The anti-labor laws just claim to respect our constitution. This anti-equality and refuses to recognize that South Africa is the most unequal society in the world. We want to challenge DA to speak about inequality. We have never heard you speaking about inequality, yet you are bringing these other ones that look like me to speak about Freedom Day and speak about labor rights, knowing that you hate the issue of labor. You hate labor workers in this country. There's another flip-flopper maybe before quickly. You know, the DA in Western Cape, you go to these posh areas, in the restaurant and hospitality area, you are hiring migrant, if not foreign, illegal, and foreigners, because you don't want to adhere to the labor laws. In restaurant, when you come, you don't want to employ South Africans. And that is the truth of the matter. You want to come here in your own government. Now, the flip-flopper being my friends in the economic freedom, in the EFF, they're being radical yet moonwalking behind the DA like backup dancers desperate for the spotlight. They flip-flop together like lovers in denial.
Honorable members, honorable members,
dead silence about
honorable members.
No, where does she get that? Where is she
Honorable
getting that?
members.
No,
Honorable
what are you talking about?
Honorable members from the EFF.
What are you talking
Mamkaula,
about?
Mamkaula.
Chairperson, protect our speaker.
No.
Chairperson, protect
Mamkaula.
us.
Cannot have excuses
No,
for it's a just
no. Honorable members, we are allowed to speak, but now you are drowning the speaker on the podium. We can't hear a thing. And even if you would want, Mam Kaula, even if you would want Even if you would want to raise a point of order, we would not even hear what the honorable member was saying. So can you please not shout? Now you are shouting, like you are literally shouting. Mam Kaula, you are shouting as well. Please, can we not drown the speaker on the podium? Please. Honorable Deputy Minister,
Thank you so much.
you can finish
As I
off.
proceed, I want to
Honorable,
say,
no,
it's
Honorable
that-
Deputy Minister, I cannot, then, which means I must address everyone. You are also shouting this side. Why are you shouting?
Unled revolution is the
No, we can't. Like, we can't shout. We can't all shout in the house. Honorable member from the EFF.
But you can't raise your hand, your voice when you are speaking with the EFF.
Honorable Deputy Minister, continue.
Thank you so much. I knew, Honorable House Chair, that calling the EFF, I'll get extra minutes. Thank you so much. Now, the process of tabling the issue of the budget, we heard what the MK said in the statement that they're calling for the dissolution of Parliament because of the impasse of budget. No, budget has got a process. When it's not been done, it goes to public participatory because we're participatory Parliament. When it has been done, then it can be amended. There's an MTDP that comes in. So what is your problem? The minister is coming on the 21st. Hang then. These are
Honorable
democratic
Deputy
government
Minister,
that has been
your
blessed
time has
the
expired.
people. So sit down.
Honorable Shabalala, you said I must call you by name.
unled revolution is the anarchy.
There is a point of order. Stella Boye, please. 3 times failing to pass a budget. 3 times failing to pass a budget.
Honorable members. We're now going on the third order, and I will request the secretary to read our third and last order of the day.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Communications and Digital Technologies on recommendation of candidates for filling of 4 vacancies in Independent Communications Authority of South Africa, ICASA Council.
Honorable members, the report deals with the Minister of Communication and Digital Technologies on appointment to the ICASA Council following the recommendations of the Assembly as agreed to by the House on the 5th of December 2024. I will now recognize political parties wishing to make a declaration. The usual time for declaration of votes will apply. The DA. You can make your declaration from there.
Apologies, House Chair. I was expecting the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee to speak first. Honorable House Chair, I rise to express the DA's full support for the appointment of the 4 new councillors to the Council of ICASA. These appointments follow a rigorous and transparent process overseen by the Portfolio Committee on Communications and Digital Technologies. The process was informed by ICASA's current and future challenges, the skills and competencies needed to meet them, and the imperative of ensuring diversity and equity in public institutions. Honorable Speaker, an important aspect of this process, often overlooked in rushed commentary, is that these appointments were made in full view of the current composition of the ICASA Council, which is already majority women. The committee took this into account when assessing gender balance, not just in this round of appointments, but across the ICASA Council as a whole. That's what true gender equity requires. Context, deliberation, and structural awareness, not a superficial tally of names on a list. The 4 appointees are not only individually qualified, but collectively bring a well-rounded and strategic blend of capabilities. Dr. Charles Lewis offers deep regulatory experience and historical insight that will strengthen the institutional memory. Dr. Joshua Maumela provides critical legal expertise for a regulator that must constantly balance competing interests within a complex constitutional and legislative framework. Ms. Karabo Mohale brings fresh energy, public interest awareness, and a strong voice for inclusive digital development. Mr. Andrew Matsike adds engineering and executive acumen, vital for infrastructure intensive tasks ahead, particularly around spectrum, innovation, and digital rollout. This cohort reflects not only professional merit, but also a deliberate effort to balance experience, transformation, and representativity. Honorable Speaker, in a time when South Africa's digital future hangs in the balance, where access, affordability, and innovation must be regulated in the public interest, ICASA needs leadership that is competent, credible, and compositionally balanced. These appointments advance that goal. We recommend the Minister and Portfolio Committee for a thoughtful process that places the needs of the sector and the country first. I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Tolib.
House Chair, just for clarification, what is the time allocated for making a declaration? 4 minutes. Are you the chair?
It depends on the proportionality of parties. So the bigger the party, the bigger the number of minutes. Yes. MK.
House Chair. Thank you, House
Honorable Ntangwini.
One would have thought, House Chair, since the Honorable Trollip knows everything, he would have at least known how many minutes does a declaration
Honorable
take.
Ntangwini, out
That
of order.
information is readily available.
Honorable Member, please continue.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, as MK will never stand in the way of job creation, especially for Black and Black women. However, House Chair, we have to be practical. Despite what the Deputy Minister has tried to explain, the GNU has no budget. Why on earth are we appointing people without a budget? How are we going to pay them? The role of councillors have been weakened and they fall short of performing their function within ICASA. There's been a long history of inefficiency, mismanagement, and allegations of corruption. House Speaker, the institution has failed to deliver on its regulatory mandate. And unfortunately, this entity has been given such a large and very important responsibility in this country. Our country's telecommunications depends on this entity. Our country's digital participation, especially of the poorest of the poor, depends on this entity. Our country's digital inclusion depends on this entity. But House Speaker, ICASA's councillors have always been bullied by white monopoly capital, and they have failed to rise above party patronage and corruption. And unfortunately, the GNU has never helped and have not even delivered a budget to assist these councillors to fulfill this mandate. If MK's votes were not stolen, if we had our votes and were in government, House Speaker will immediately change ICASA in its current form. We are going to remove every councillor who has not undergone IQ tests, including the minister and the deputy minister that is overseeing this ministry. They have failed to meet the digital deadlines. They have failed to protect SAPO and its workers. They have failed to roll out connectivity to schools. Since 2015, 4,000 schools were supposed to be connected. Our children are passing matric without digital and future skills that will allow them to participate in the digital economy. To date, only 599 schools are connected. And we want us to approve and commend these councillors. They have failed to enforce compliance on the telcos for social obligations to roll out broadband to the most rural areas of this country. House Speakers, this ship is sinking very fast. And to hear speakers here from the ANC and the DA to come and cry about their marital problems, this is serious abuse to us, House Speaker. If you don't stop this, we are not here to listen to their house issues. They must go back and sort out their issues. We are here to conduct the business of the house to serve the South Africans. Now, this is what we want to say to the councillors. We want transparency and we want fairness in awarding licenses. We want you to enforce and regulate the social obligations of telcos, otherwise revoke these licenses that are held by the white monopoly capital. Let's give it to the black people that will implement broadband and digital inclusivity for our children. Let us ensure that SABC and other free-to-air broadcasters have sports broadcasting rights. We want these councillors to ensure that SAPO, South African Post Office, survives, get rid of those business rescue practitioners who are extorting money from the entity, dismantle the monopoly of the telcos, and allow SMMEs to operate, remove the barriers of entry into the telecommunications industry for our people. We want these councillors to deliver on the digital promise that has been promised by this GNU government. House Speaker, our last advice to this
Honorable
councillors,
Makubele, your time has
they
expired.
should not relax. There is no money to pay them.
Honorable
This
Makubele,
government is going to dissolve.
your time
and the
has
people are
expired.
calling for President Jacob Zuma.
Honorable
We
member,
see
your time has
in the
expired.
elections that we have won, Ward 110, Ward
Honorable
19,
member.
and the Western Cape, people are continuing to call for President Jacob Zuma to come and rescue them. My brother.
Honorable Makubele, Honorable Makubele, Honorable Makubele, I want you to come back to the podium. Yes. I have been shouting that your time has expired. I shouted more than 3 times. No, you heard me, I know. I am cautioning you, don't do it again. EFF.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. As the EFF, we followed the process keenly of the filling of the vacancies at ICASA. As we navigate a digital age where many ordinary South Africans are being left behind, although there was much broader consensus regarding the 4 names to fill these vacancies, as the EFF, we maintain that the retention of one specific councillor represents an anomaly that should not repeat itself, as it is a rewarding of failure for the many regulatory duties that were not seen through by this previous councillor. There are key priorities that the ICASA Council should focus on moving forward. And this includes fast-tracking the review of phenomenon of the expiry of prepaid airtime and data. As the EFF, we have engaged the mobile network operators on what informs the methodology of expiration of unused prepaid airtime and data. And subsequent to that, we have engaged ICASA as well on the reasons behind this exploitative practice. The justification that this is simply industry practice is unsatisfactory. ICASA, to its credit, has stated that they are reviewing this and we will monitor those developments closely, because to us, the expiry of data that has been bought by South Africans and not used within the certain period of time expiring is the same as if you buy a loaf of bread at ShopRite, and if you don't eat it in 3 days, ShopRite comes to collect it. It's ridiculous, it's exploitative, and it is something that must be looked into. So we are going to focus on the current mandates that must be pursued by ICASA. Additionally, ICASA must consider the risks posed by the introduction of satellite network operators to jobs and local mobile network industries, and conduct impact assessments as to the consequences of the introduction of entities such as Starlink in South Africa. Recent developments, hostilities, and misinformation campaigns led by Starlink owner Elon Musk mean that the risks posed by Starlink far outweigh its self-proclaimed benefits, both in terms of local economic development and in terms of national security implications, and in particular with regards to data integrity. An individual who has declared a non-existent white genocide in South Africa cannot have access to the data of millions of South Africans and control our telecommunications networks and infrastructure. We have already suffered sanctions at the behest of Elon Musk, and we cannot give him control over our telecommunications infrastructure and give him the power to switch our networks on and off as he pleases while he operates from the White House. ICASA's role is of national importance now more than ever, and considering recent violent, irresponsible commentary which must be condemned by all against a popular individual by a particular podcaster, one of the mandates that ICASA must consider is ensuring that there's regulation of the podcast industry and alternative media. Freedom of expression should not constitute freedom to undermine the integrity and dignity of women. Thank you very much.
Thank you. IFP.
Chairperson, the IFP acknowledges and affirms the minister's recommended candidate for appointment to the ICASA Council as a regulatory body essential to safeguarding South Africa's communication sector. ICASA must be led by capable, independent, and ethically sound professionals. We commend the transparent process undertaken by the committee. We urge the incoming councillors to uphold the highest standards of regulatory integrity and act in the public interest to ensure equitable access and transformation in the communications and digital technologies sector, in particular within the digital age, where the intersection of technology and democracy is critical. We look forward to their contribution in advancing a digitally inclusive South Africa. The IFP accepts the report. Thank you.
Thank you. PA.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair. We want to welcome the report and recommendations, but with caution. We want to state firstly that we commend the Minister for striking a gender balance in terms of equity, where you have the council consisting of 5 females and 4 males. But we must also highlight the cautionary disappointment that we have in the fact that there's a material flaw in the transformation as it relates to the racial balance, where we have 8 Black Africans and 1 white African, 0 Indian African, and 0 colored African. And what this reflects is the daily reality across the board in our country. When there has to be a choice between races, Indians and coloreds are marginalized. If that's not enough, then Indians and colored, the colored and Indian ratio together, foreign nationals are more than Indians and coloreds together when it comes to employment. And this is wrong. And that's the point that Honorable Van Wyk and Honorable Daniels wanted to make in their debate earlier, to say that we are all Africans, but when it comes to practicality, coloreds and Indian South Africans are intentionally marginalized. It has to change. Goed is, moet balance. Moenie byzane. Salute.
FF plus. FF plus. Action SA.
Thank you, House Chair. Based on the report of the Portfolio Committee on Communications and Digital Technologies, as Action SA, we are satisfied that due process was followed in the consideration and recommendation of the following 4 candidates, namely Dr. Charles Lewis, Dr. Joshua Maumela, Ms. Karabo Mohale, and Mr. Andrew Matseke. While this is a procedural matter, Action SA underscores the importance of upholding good governance and ensuring continuity within key regulatory institutions. In light of the transparent and very compliant process that was followed, we as a caucus support the report and vote in favor of the recommendation, the recommended appointments. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. ACDP.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, the ACDP has read the report and we support the nominations. As we know, ICASA plays a crucial role as the independent authority in terms of Chapter 9 of the Constitution to regulate broadcasting in the public interest and to ensure fairness and a diversity of views broadly representing South African society. Now, these councils are going to face a number of challenges, as the committee chairperson and others have pointed out. For example, they will have to wrestle with outdated policy and legislative environments. They will have to wrestle with the need to contend with the fast pace of technological change, with the advent of streaming services that have disrupted the broadcasting sector, the regulation of postal services, and the fast expanding e-commerce landscape. They will need to stand firm in the commitment to deploy broadband spectrum in a way that benefits all South Africans and reduces the costs of digital connectivity. This, the ACDP believes, can be a game changer, not only enhance education and skills training, but also result in job creation and economic development, particularly in rural areas and to schools. We support the nominations and wish the new councillors everything of the best going forward as they seek to fulfill ICASA's mandate in a fiscally constrained environment. I thank you.
Thank you. UDM.
Akenza mtshamo xitulu hi rise Mzansi ha seketela xipiko lexi humaka ka komiti na ntirho lowu nga endla hi holobye eka ku va a recommende mavito lama, so ya seketela report ya komiti.
Thank you. Posa. ATM.
Posa is here, House Chair.
Continue, Honorable Member.
Thank you. So the report, as we have it, that's been placed before the House, names the individuals that it's recommended for the appointment, but it has really failed to provide an explanation or justification of the proposed candidates. So it doesn't disclose what criteria was used to assess, and it's an omission really that makes it impossible for us as Bold One South Africa to be able to duly perform our constitutional duty and to make the relevant considerations in order to determine whether or not we can support this. With the ICASA being the highest decision-making structure for South Africa's communication, it really has fallen short. The committee has fallen short in providing exactly what it is that we would need in order to support. So we can't, unfortunately, support the report on the basis that the information that we have is really short in giving us adequate data to be able to approve.
Are you done, Honorable Webster?
I'm done. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Thank you. ATM. Al Jama. NCC. PAC. UAT. Good. ANC.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I stand on behalf of the African National Congress to support the Portfolio Committee's recommendation that advocates for continued growth and inclusive reform at ICASA. The ANC reaffirms its strong commitment to fostering South Africa's digital transformation in a manner that promotes both inclusivity and equitable transformation. ICASA occupies a key and strategic role as the nation's principal communications regulator. It therefore remains crucial in the digital landscape's continuous redefinition and transformative growth. On the 5th of December 2024, as the ANC, we stood in front of this House to reaffirm our commitment to change, to inclusion, and our commitment to building a capable developmental state. a commitment to ensuring that strategic entities such as ICASA remain agile, they remain responsive, and they are capacitated to bridge the digital divide. Earlier, the honorable member from Bosa wanted further information about the candidates, and if you look up the report that was tabled on the 5th of December, there were 6 candidates that we had recommended, and we provided further details into that, of which from the 6, the minister was tasked to select 4, and that is what the purpose of this tabling is, to really decide upon the 4. But further information was tabled on the 5th of December. In order for ICASA to fulfill its role, it must reflect the values of effective governance, of gender equity, and of institutional excellence, which are values that the ANC holds close to itself. At our 55th National Conference, the ANC made a decisive resolution that spectrum allocation must prioritize ownership and control within the ICT sector, must prioritize transforming ownership and control within the ICT sector, promoting broader inclusion, particularly for Black individuals, for women, youth, and people with disabilities. We remain optimistic that the situation at ICASA would be improved if the right candidates are put in place. Chairperson, the Constitution of our country guarantees gender equality as a fundamental right. And as the African National Congress, we have constantly advocated for policies that enhances women's representation in leadership roles. Despite these efforts, women remain underrepresented in critical decision-making bodies, and key agencies such as ICASA should not be a site of such an injustice. A gender-balanced board is not simply a symbolic act, it's a strategic one, because a board that mirrors the nation's demographics is more adept at formulating policies that addresses these disparities. And I must at this point out, Honorable Chairperson, is that we have, as Honorable member from PA has indicated, the board, if this recommendation is accepted, the ICASA board will constitute 56% of female representation. I think that's a significant achievement of the ICASA board. And I must point out that the committee also in selecting the candidates also looked at issues of such as youth. And I'm very pleased to note that of the 4 candidates that's before this House, there's a young, dynamic female 33-year-old and a very capable 35-year-old Black male and a 33-year-old Black female that is part of the 4 candidates. So I think we've done a very good job. We've looked at issues such as continuity, stability, youth empowerment, diversity, including we painstakingly ensured during the subcommittee review of the shortlisting candidates, we set the subcommittee said, let's go back and ensure that whoever we interview must include and represent the diversity of our country. And that's exactly what we did. We just did not accept the shortlisting. We went back, we found candidates, including, and I must commend, including people with disabilities, were also interviewed during the process. So the process was very robust. We tried to ensure that we were as inclusive as possible. The ICASA board selection should always prioritize skilled individuals who represent the demographics of the country and who possess knowledge in telecommunications and the digital policy landscape. The Portfolio Committee must continuously implement stringent supervision to guarantee equitable and just representation, not just on ICASA, but throughout the board. Chairperson, ICASA cannot execute its task as a regulator if its governance frameworks are compromised by instability and insufficient diversity. The ANC has expressed worry regarding previous occurrences where regulatory delays and internal governance failures have impeded ICASA's capacity to fulfill its responsibilities. A robust board with distinct delineation of authority between governance and executive management is essential for circumventing such traps. As the ANC, we are advocating for a board of experienced industries, and persons such as Dr. Charles Lewis, who is a white male of 72 years old, brings to the board continuity, stability, and he has tremendous amount of experience in ICT policy, which is something that is emerging. Chairperson, my time is up, and the African National Congress supports the recommendation, supports this report. I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, the question before the House is that the recommendation of the Minister of Communication and Digital Technologies for the appointment of Dr. Charles Lewis, Dr. Joshua Maumela, Ms. Karabo Mohale, and Mr. Andrew Matseke for appointment to the ICASA Council be approved. Are there any objections? The report is then agreed to. I request members to stand and wait for the presiding officer and the mace to leave the chamber. That concludes the business of the day, and the House is adjourned.